All right. What's up, everybody? How you doing out there? Welcome back to the show. This is last week's fight. My name is Thinker St. James, and tonight we are going over each and every fight from UFC Fight Night, Whittaker versus DeRitter, taking a look at UFC Fight Night, Taira versus Park, and all of the craziness that has gone down within the last week or couple of days even surrounding that card. So we'll get to all of that in a little bit. To do all of that with me, as always, the man, the myth, the legend, my co-host, the Ohio player, a man who would speak confidently in Arabic to Russian reporters, Chase Parton. How are you, sir?
Dude, living it up. It's actually been a pretty decent weekend. You know, the fights, we'll definitely get to talk about some excitement, but that reporter that got the question and Bryce gave him an answer, that was definitely a highlight of something. I'll give you that.
With all of the misplaced confidence that you would expect from Bryce, I was very happy with how it always makes my heart happy with the way that Bryce just full force into the dumbest things that you could possibly imagine, but not bad in the cage. So of course we're going to get to that as well. If you are new to the show, we are going over each and every fight from UFC Fight Night, Whittaker versus DeRitter. If you have anything that you want to talk about that's not pertaining to the fight that we are talking about at the time, throw it in the chat. Remind us a little bit later in the stream, and we will come back to it at that time. Of course, we are a little bit later tonight, so we are burning the midnight oil for you, but with all of the regular energy that you know and expect from this show. So that being said, TJF, we see you. Thank you very much for checking in. And let's talk a little bit about this card. Why not, right? I mean, we got UFC Fight Night, Whittaker versus DeRitter, which took place in the Etihad Arena in Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates. What, Chase? You're making a face. I
wanted to ask you first off, what were your opinions about this card before it started? Did you expect something of what we got, or did you think this was going to be something different?
I would say that this was about as down the line as I would have expected this card to be. I don't think that we really got too many twists and turns. We obviously talking about this one beforehand, a couple that we got right, a couple that we did not get right. As far as our predictions go, but like, I didn't really think that there was anything overly curveball-y with this card. There were a couple of maybe slight technical things that were a little bit strange, but what, go ahead.
No, I'm looking at it, bro. The whole the entire prelims, not one fight on the prelims had something that that was normal. Like, these were all crazy, and I will actually break them all down here in a second, because these were all, when you take into context what the implications for the other people, the people that lost on the prelims, let me say it that way, all of them, they all should not have. That's the crazy part.
Actually, thinking about it now, maybe the prelims definitely had some interesting stuff on it for sure. Actually, no, you're right. Going back through, looking over the notes now, you are
in succession. Like, okay, we got to start it, because the first one is crazy. We got to talk about
I guess let's you're right. All right, let's jump into it. I guess that's probably where my head was at. But yeah, let's get right into it. Martin Boudet versus Marcus Buchecha. So starting this off, I said last week that I would never be putting my confidence in a person from outside the UFC coming into the UFC again if Buchecha did not come through and immediately put his world-class, amazing, master-level BJJ to good use here. He did not, and I am not. So from now on, if you ever hear me say that I'm putting any kind of confidence in someone coming in fresh out of the UFC, just remember this conversation. It will not happen. It's not going to happen. We'll talk about something that they announced at this event coming up a little bit later, where I'm going to have to hold myself back from falling into that trap once more. But I am not going to be loosey with the football on this thing. It is, after Buchecha, I thought that this was the new meta, this new era that was going to be ushered in at heavyweight, and it still will be. Don't get that twisted. I think that grapplers at heavyweight still is the way, but Buchecha, who I did a little bit of research on, within all of this, he is an extremely decorated BJJ practitioner. I mean, we're talking, like, you look at his Wikipedia, it is gold medals just down the line. This is a prime example of what happens when you don't have the mixed part of mixed martial arts down. Yeah, go ahead.
No, yeah, sorry. I actually just would like to say initially, I'm just waiting for the prospect at heavyweight. I don't care who it is. I'm just putting stock in the next guy who's coming up. But the fact that I saw and had US currency on Marcus Buchecha here, first off, he comes out with Santos on his shorts. That was the first fault. Like, I don't even know who Santos is. If you're going to be Buchecha, put that on the damn shorts, my guy. I don't even, you came out on an off note. That was the first one. The second, you probably did roids at one time in your career. I don't know, but the fact that you're not good, it's probably the reason. Like, you probably did roids to be better. I'm putting that on you right now, because no reason should you be this bad if you were at 100% of your skill level at the entirety of your career. This guy here, oh brother, I'm like, it really hurt to see what I saw here. And the commentary made a point. This is so key. The commentary were like, he did say grappling with no gi is a lot harder. It's like, what the aren't you the grappling Jesus Christ right now of heavyweight? Like, what is the problem? I thought this dude had like over 100 grappling wins, and he barely could get Martin Buday down. Like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah. So, well, just to touch on a couple of points there. The first is that his birth name is Marcus Vinicius Oliveira de Almeida. So not Santos, but Almeida was on the shorts. So
It
you were
was
correct.
Almeida.
Yeah,
Either way.
you are correct that there was something else. So I can understand that throwing some people off. Which I agree. I'm like, you have Buchecha on the broadcast graphics. You have it everywhere else besides the short. Maybe that's a commission thing. I don't know. But whatever the reason is there, that I can understand that. And also to your point about the juice, we have had people mentioned to us in the past. I mean, shout out to our buddy Badger. He's big in the culture, and had said that, like, juicing in BJJ is just insanely prevalent. I mean, with Gordon Ryan, obviously, is a big example of that. But that's not just confined to any one person. It's apparently very rampant throughout the whole BJJ competitive culture. So that being the case here, I cannot say. Obviously, he passed his pre-fights, but there is potentially some validity to the thought process. Either which way, whether it's the bright lights of your UFC debut, whether it's the fact that it's mixed martial arts and not just straight BJJ, gi, no gi, I don't care what the answer is. This was just an all-around poor performance. And I wanted to say, don't get this twisted here when we go through some of these points, because I got this whole like wall of notes that I have for this fight. But like, we should not think that because of this that Buday did anything spectacular in this fight. This was not like a crazy great performance for Martin Buday. He didn't finish the fight even though he won. This was just a lot of expectations and hopes being placed on this BJJ phenom, and none of them being met.
I'm glad you brought up his name, because I wasn't even going to do all that. Like, I don't think anybody wins in this matchup. This was one of the worst. This was awful. This was the point where I believe me and Mank, we were having the conversation, like, genuinely, do we watch the top of the sport? Like, right now, is this the top level of mixed martial arts at heavyweight? Like, just no way are there only 15 guys and 7 of them look decent out of billions of people in the world. Like, it genuinely baffles me how they cannot find better people at heavyweight, because Buchecha's horrible. Martin Buday is as basic as they come. Like, he's like a step below Waldo, because he'll get to decision, but like he'll lose the entirety of the fight basically. Like he didn't win in this. Like Buchecha just lost even more. Like this was a horrible outing for both of them, and genuinely Buchecha, he made Hamdi and Kunaev look really good, and that's no. And it's not even a joke, dude. Like, genuinely, this dude was hard on the eyes because once you saw him gassed at the beginning of round two, you said, what in the fuck is like, what's his plan now? Like, he literally grappled, barely did anything, and was tired. Like, this is what you prepared for. Your MMA UFC debut was for you to get tired after 5 minutes. Bro, we all knew you'd get tired too. Like, how do they not get with it? How do heavyweights not get the cardio? Like, I know it's obviously they're probably never going to get. Martin Buday goes to decision. Waldo Cortez go to decision all the time. There's heavyweights that know how to use their cardio, right?
Sure.
Some people just obviously just don't give a fuck. I don't know.
I mean, I think that it's really just not being equipped for the mixed martial arts aspect of MMA, and that's, you know, and also something to note too. To tack on to my earlier point about Boudet not being like a phenom in this fight, Boudet is also a BJJ black belt. Just keep that in mind for all of this, like, because why I say that is he was navigating this fight with a mixed martial arts base on top of his BJJ abilities. So that being said, he had a better overall showing with what it takes to be in this sport specifically. I think that Buchecha was just out of his element. You know, he's I guess was 4-0 in MMA. I don't know where his other MMA fights were. I guess one. I think he was in one championship for a little while, for some of those at least, maybe a couple. Either way, I think that it was just a different level of competition. Might have also had something to do with what Felder was saying, that being out there in Abu Dhabi, the climate is a little bit different. You know, being in the humidity might have played some kind of factor, perhaps. I don't know. All I know is that dude was looking like a heavyweight Alexandre Pantoja by the end of the first round, basically.
I cannot tell you how tired you know what, I'll just let it go. They can be whatever. It can be whatever. If they had a time because they were too sweaty, sure, whatever. If it was too humid in the arena, sure. Marcus Buchecha, you were 5-1 coming into this. We probably should have known that you losing before you've hit 7 wins is a good indication that you're not that good. But that's on me.
5-1. Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, so I mean, going through some of the elements of this fight, I think explain it a little bit in more detail, or give you a better perception of why this was such a spectacle. First of all, Boudet ran full sprint towards the center of the cage. That was very funny, and he did not do anything at the end of that. And I think that what that was that he might have been anticipating the level change from Buchecha, so he was wanting to wait for the knees.
He wanted the Jorge Masvidal.
He wanted the Masvidal, exactly.
Sorry, the Derek Lewis.
Yeah, that either one will work for that. But yeah, that basically was. I think that was the case. So Buchecha didn't do that. You know, he waited on it. So that was definitely just like a funny moment. But there is another moment that I think encapsulates this fight very well. It was also in the first round. There is a moment early in the fight where Buchecha punches Boudet in the arm, just like low, you know, like right on the outside of the arm, and then goes for a takedown at a terrible like angle. This is like how this guy is such a high level BJJ practitioner and went for this takedown where he was at, like in positioning wise, is ridiculous. But he ends up going for that takedown, does not get it, and Boudet basically collapses on top of him and is now in control. That really tells you a lot about what this fight looked like in totality.
What sucks about fights like these is like, so you have Martin Boudet, right? And if you were somebody who doesn't know Martin Boudet, you'd look at him and be like, yeah, no fucking way is this guy winning the fight. But then you know coming into this that he does win fights by decision. He actually has very good cardio, has decent hands, and you know, is what it is. Now Buchecha, if I would have seen him, now if I would have done my research for more than 2 seconds instead of just picking him because he's the BJJ heavyweight god, quote unquote, I would have seen him and said, yeah, no, I'm not betting on a guy who looks like that for sure. Like, he definitely does not give you the confidence. Like, oh, this guy's going to go out here and destroy somebody. Like, he doesn't have aura. Like, I don't know. It's just really all it comes down to in this sport. Martin Boudet, kind of for a heavyweight, he kind of does have a little aura because he is the fat slobby guy that'll just fucking beat you. I don't know, like it's the story's growing, I
Yeah,
guess.
I mean, certainly after this, and shout out to TJF who was coming into the chat early, who is a Boudet fan. So there you go. I guess he's making fans time over time here. But yeah, and Buchecha was just so eager to initiate these takedowns, like from the jump. Everyone knows you're this BJJ phenom guy. You go for takedowns first second of the fight while you're both fresh. I'm like, you don't have Hamzat's aggression, my guy. Like,
Mhm.
unless you're going to come out there with that level of intensity, like you're going to get shrugged off. And that's exactly what Boudet did. And then I think that contributed to him getting tired. He's going for takedown after takedown, not getting them. It's like, all right, well, now I have to strike. And he's not comfortable striking.
It was just definitely a bad sight to see because there was good, right? There was moments where, Buchecha actually had Martin Boudet cowering on the ground and he was standing over him, but he was too tired to range shots. And then when Boudet started to stand up, he was too stupid to jump up an RNC. He didn't get his hooks in. There was times where he just literally would stand over top of him just to have his body over him. And it's not like he was on top of him. He was standing over him and too slow and sluggish to throw punches. Like he could have ended this fight at some points. Like I was screaming at the screen, like just keep moving your hands, but he was unable to throw with enough power that made Boudet actually, not want to move and actually cower up. Like he was just able to just get up. And it was just annoying. Like,
Yeah, no, absolutely. That I think is even the bigger point out of all of this. Why this performance from Buchecha was so underwhelming was because the first round, there's a lot you can chalk up to, like all of those things that we had mentioned. The jitters, the no gi versus gi that he might have been used to, the
the
humidity bubble,
humidity.
all you can all of that. Those are the things that you work out in the first round, and in the second round, you're right. I mean, he got Boudet down in the second round, but just nowhere close to actually getting him into a submission position. So it's like, when you go through an entire round not able to get close to the sub and then end up getting reversed at the end of the round. I believe that I think it was 2 out of the 3 rounds Boudet ended up on top at the
Yeah.
end. So it's like, that does not inspire great confidence in an MMA setting for this dude who's supposed to be very impressive. It's expectations versus the reality of what you see, and that I think is what was so disappointing here.
No, what's disappointing is about performances like this. When we see Marcus Buchecha on his debut, we understand, okay, he's going to get another one. And then we have to see him again. And then it's going to be against somebody like Hamdi. And it's like, oh God, like, can they do anything good with this division? Like if you come in and you have a performance like this, you should be one and done in the heavyweight division. I swear to God. I think you need to have one opportunity and you get sent back and you try again in 3 or 4 fights. Like there's too many times that we see people like, listen, Kunaev's going to sit at the 15th ranked. This dude almost got fucking 13th or whatever the hell it may be. Fucking Hamdi is probably going to beat somebody other than Muhammad Usman. Muhammad Usman is probably going to end up ranked here in the near future. Like this is
Oh.
just horrible that we have this going on right now, and it just is reality, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, shout out to ITP MMA, who I think makes some great points about why the heavyweight division is the way that it is, saying basically that guys as big as what you need to be at heavyweight for the money that that heavyweight fighters and UFC fighters in general make, it's just a rare breed that actually want to go and put themselves in a combat situation. If you're that big with that much weight on your frame and you at least live in America, you'll go play football. I mean, like
Mhm.
there's other options that you have as an athlete that don't involve getting punched in the face for a living. So this is what you get at heavyweight a lot of the time. And you're right though. It is a I mean, I have a couple of friends from older in the sport, like people who've been watching for years, like since the early days of the UFC, and they'll be the first ones to tell you that heavyweight has always been like the black sheep of the MMA, but like at least early on you had that era's version of great fighters, the Frank Mir's and the Lesnar's and those kinds of guys. Like they made it interesting and fun, and the sport was not as evolved as it is, so they kind of got away with not necessarily being like what you need to be now to be like considered an elite fighter. But now where we are with the progression of the sport, it is glaringly obvious when you are not an elite fighter at heavyweight. So it's a hard deal. And Buchecha specifically, he will go nowhere in this sport if he cannot strike or keep up his cardio in an MMA setting. And I really think that is what it needs to be drilled very, very like steadfast with this guy, is that you are, when you're in a BJJ competition, you have the advancement is almost there for you. Like, there's very little retreat in BJJ. You're pretty much going in hands on each other from the start of the engagement, and it's not as dynamic by far as MMA. So this is completely different worlds. It's almost like when MMA fighters go over to do boxing. It's like they're similar. There are overlaps, but they are very, very different. And you cannot hang in this sport with this level of ability. It's not possible.
Yep, I agree. I think Buchecha needs to be on his way back to. He just needs to go to the Contender Series, bro. Give us that. That should be the starting point for anybody coming to the UFC. You have to put on the performance that makes us want to watch you again. Like, I don't know why we keep getting people that are just coming in for promotions that just have no credibility, that we don't even know who they are. They don't even have pictures on ESPN. It's like, give us a reason to want them in the roster. Give us 2 seasons of the Contender Series. Give us a fall and give us a spring. I don't know why this is so difficult. Seriously.
Well, yeah, I mean, more Contender Series could make that work. And I, for the longest time, I would have been the guy to tell you, no way, man. You're not counting these victories outside of the organization, strongly enough. These are legitimate wins. And it's not that they're not legitimate wins. Yes, they did win those fights, but we have now seen time and time again. And I have to personally come around to the reality that it's just 2 different worlds, being outside of the premier organization and inside the premier organization. They are 2 different worlds. And, like I said, for the longest time, I would have been the first to disagree with you on that. But now, after what I have seen, especially since the Bellator, the collapse of Bellator into PFL, and PFL letting go of a bunch of fighters, one championship, letting go of guys, et cetera, all the things that we talk about on this show, I am confident as well, saying, yeah, you're right. I do think that at this point, and because some people would say the counter argument would be, oh, well, they're just going to go on the Contender Series and can crush. Go ahead. Fine. Do it. Yeah, exactly. Let it happen. Fine. Fucking throw whoever you want in there as the can, or some other hot prospect or whatever. Like, if they're that hot, then they'll stomp on some guy who will eventually come back to the Contender Series and get in there. But at this point,
I'd like to see a short list of these people that are can crush on the Contender Series, because I would love to fucking see it. Seriously.
Right.
These guys are not that they're not that guy, pal. They're just really not.
Yeah, well, and as I kind of alluded to, we'll get to an announcement that they made about another fighter that's coming in from outside, and keep this conversation in mind, because you might have heard from me in a different time saying, oh, this guy's going to come in here and he's going to be the one, but not anymore, and certainly wasn't Buchecha in this outing either. But yeah, as far as going forward now, I really don't think that this moves the needle too far for either fighter, but it is heavyweight, so perhaps Budai gets a little bit of a push off of that. What happens going forward for either one? I mean, like, I think Buchecha definitely gets another shot at it versus another lower unranked guy. Budai, same type of deal. I really feel like Martin Budai is like the guy that you throw in there to, essentially low-level gatekeep. So I would think
fuck it, give him Derek Lewis.
I mean, at this point, coming off, I'm not Lewis is coming off a win though. Maybe, yeah, I guess maybe it makes sense, because Lewis would be low or mid rankings at this point. What, like, he's like maybe 11 or something like that.
Yeah,
I don't know, either, any which way, whatever. Who fucking cares? This was a little bit of a slop fest back and forth through the end of this fight, and that's kind of what my recollection is going to be of it.
Yeah, I agree. This was a horrible start to the card.
Yeah, I know. It was a letdown because of, I think, again, the expectations. It's like you have this guy who has all of these accolades. Carrasco in the chat saying that he thinks Buchecha started MMA a bit late. Yeah, because he was doing all of this work as a BJJ master. And it's like you think that some things like that are going to equal up to being the next big thing, and it's sad to say sometimes that is not the case, and this is certainly one of those cases.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Buchecha not doing anything in my mind.
Yeah, so it was certainly a bizarrely interesting way to start the card. I think based on what we thought versus what we got.
It was a nice handful of hours that we thought Buchecha was going to be that great of a grappling person, though. So,
Yeah, exactly. For those brief fleeting moments.
yeah.
But if he goes back to BJJ, then I'm sure he'll be just fine. This one, however, if you can strike the Buchecha fight off from the beginning here, this fight, the second fight of the night, certainly made this thing a fireworks display to start here. This is Muhammad Yahya versus Stephen Wynn, and Stephen Wynn, of course, putting the win in Wynn with the most knockdowns now in UFC history. So shout out to him for that. But the tragic comedy of watching Muhammad Yahya get dropped over and over and over again, bro. I mean, I'm not you sometimes you'll say things are funny and I'm always like, but I feel bad because you're laughing at some dude, he's getting hurt in there. This one, it's like, it almost reminded me of like Benny Hill, like classic, like slapstick comedy back, like type of thing. Just the way that he was getting dropped and dropped and dropped.
No, this one was the actual concerning one to me. I think
Sure.
that's where our minds flip, is like, if it's so bad it's funny to you, but it's normally funny until it's so bad to me. Like, so this one right here, so I put money on Steven win by KO. And obviously this is what happens when I put money on somebody to punch them in the face and win. What's really funny also is that officially they gave him 6 knockdowns. I've watched the fight twice. It was 8, but
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know where they continue to, because it's funny. So he drops him the first time, right? And they're like, okay, it was a slip. Give it to him. Give him a slip. It's okay. It's okay. Drops him again. It's like, oh God, oh brother. After the third one, I'm telling Herzog, after the next one, dude, in a second, you're gonna have to call it. Like, you're gonna have to just know what he gets dropped again. I'm like, Herzog, please, dude, I have money on this. Like, what are you doing? Like, dude, he's literally on his back 4 different times by now, 5th time. I'm like, holy shit. Like, he just won't end it. And Muhammad Yahya, being from the region that this card was being in, maybe does add a little to the context of why Jason Herzog was not quick to end this fight. I will agree with you that we did not see Muhammad Yahya out of it to a point that the fight should have been stopped until the last knockdown of the round 1. That one, he literally fell back, leg is underneath him, and Stephen Wynn did not attack him. And he's just laying there looking up like, oh. And Jason Herzog's like, nope, he's good, he's good, he's good. And then Stephen Wynn goes to pound him some more, and then the bell saves him. And then we go through round 2, and we obviously have a massive hematoma.
Oh, yeah, you got it. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. It was literally the size of like my fist, which is decently sized when you put it up to a man's skull, I would say. It's not, not a basketball over here, but it was like a golf ball size, tennis ball size.
The
Like,
the
this
way
was
I
ridiculous.
Yeah, the way I described it was the size of a Nerf football going from under his eye all the way wrapping around to the
Yes.
side to his sideburn, basically.
Yeah. It was pretty bad. Stephen Wynn put the beating of a lifetime on this guy. I want to make the point, and I think you'll find this very funny because I genuinely do. Stephen Wynn he is somebody who went through the Contender Series 3 times before he got a contract. This was his first fight in the UFC. No, was it?
No, I think he had one before, I believe,
Okay.
but
Well,
he won that one as
either
well.
way, he must think that these people are gods. He's like, dude, I couldn't even get here after 3 Contender Series fight. I fight one can, and they give me the dude that is from Jesus's chin of granite fucking marble. Like, it's crazy. Like, he must be wondering what the people in the UFC are made of. I think he's probably thinking he's got a lot on his hands, but in our, obviously from what we saw, like, that fight should have been stopped. He should have smoked him in round 1. Like, that should have been an easy done deal case. But I mean, Muhammad Yahya, shout out to him. He was fucking trying, and he was getting whooped. That's the crazy part.
Yeah, well, and I mean, to your point, like so I understand with having money on it and all that. I think you made a good conceit there that like he was not out
Yeah.
until that last time. And they showed that footage between rounds of him stumbling back to the stool, and it was like, all right, I mean, maybe there's something there, but had that gotten stopped between rounds, would that have counted as a knockout? I wonder. You know what I mean? Like, what would the designation have been? Because if it's like, if you're looking for the fight to get stopped by knockout, I don't know if you would have won based on that either. So all of that aside, the betting aspect for you personally, I thought that Herzog handled it somewhat decently, except for that last point, because it's like between rounds, and they did say, oh, he talked to him between rounds, and he's like, you have to do something. And Herzog in that second round was like hypercritical every time that he got knocked down again, which was twice. But yeah,
Yeah, I love that point too. He's like, he was talking to him. He let him know he's got to show me something. You got to show me something. And then he gets his ass whooped for a second round and does nothing.
but
Like,
he would not stay down visibly. Like he kept doing the right thing. And also for a lot of those when he popped back up, he actually looked decently fresh, which I thought was the weirdest part of everything. Cause I'm like, bro, if it's hurting you enough to knock you down, like, wouldn't it hurt you enough to, like, get you dazed? Aside from that last one, he got back into that thing. In fact, in that, what was it? It was the second round.
round,
Yeah, the
he
second
caught
round.
him.
He
He
yeah,
caught him.
exactly. So I mean, how crazy that twist of fate would have been had he been able to actually turn that thing around. But so I don't know. I there are plenty of times to criticize Jason Herzog, and we've seen many of them more recently than others. This one I give him a little bit of a pass
No.
because of the optics.
No, this one was horrible. He needs to be fined for real. And what you want to also
Right.
think, you say Jason Herzog did the right thing here. Let's also meant like he genuinely was going to let this go to decision until the doctor stopped it. Like, he didn't stop this fight. The doctor said that he could not see, he cannot go on. This was
No,
not
but he
Jason
called him
Herzog.
in though. I mean, like, he knew that it was like
Oh yeah,
dude, it didn't matter who
did
you
the
brought.
doctor need to be called in when his
Well,
eye is like, hey Jason, make sure you make sure they had Dean Thomas on the call. Hey, do you think Jason Herzog should go ahead and call the doctor in? Well, yeah, I think that'd be a great idea. Like,
that's
no,
the whole,
no,
yeah. But I
fuck
mean,
no.
like, that's the thing. I don't. It didn't. It did not take a rocket scientist to know that hematoma was covering the eye to the point that you could not see out of it. So
Yeah,
I get
dude.
that aspect of it.
This was blasphemy. This was, so you remember when Jared got finished early, was it by Imavov, and then the next fight with Kaio, they literally tried to kill him. It's the same deal. It's like Jason Herzog was told, whatever you do not let this fight end early. And
Well,
listen,
see, to
the
play devil's
guillotine
advocate.
means a different thing over there, is all
But
I'm
that's what I'm
saying.
saying. Like, to play devil's advocate for that, it's like a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation for a guy like Herzog. Herzog wants to do the right thing. That I think is why I even when he makes bad
The
calls, I
right
try
thing
to.
for who? Was the right thing in Yaya's
No,
favor here?
period. Yeah, well, I mean, if he had been able to come back after he knocked Stephen Wynn down, then this tune would be a lot different.
Bro, I just, there's no way. Listen, the first 5 knockdowns, I will argue, okay, sure. He was decent enough to get up because Steven was letting him. He felt bad. After the first 3, he's like, dude, okay, I knock him down again and he's gonna end it. Okay, 4 happens. He's like, oh my God, he's still not gonna end it. The fact that this dude wasn't completely shit gassed after the first round, he was gassed. But
Mm.
the fact that he still had a little more to knock him down 2 more times in the second round, dude. I don't know what Stephen Wen has been eating, but bro, he can throw a fucking punch. Like, and it's crazy because, like, you don't watch Stephen Wen and you're like, whoa, like, this dude's some crazy fucking, like, he literally is he's just Nate Diaz. Like, he just walks up and just throws combinations. Like, he just punches and puts his hands up. He's like, oh, that didn't fucking hurt. No, fuck it. Do it again. And it works. And he literally knocked him down for the most times in the UFC history. And 5 times should have been enough. I agree. What was the guy's name? David Shaw, something like that. Is that
Oh
the
yeah, the representative from the
Yes.
UFC. Yeah.
He said that there should not be a knockdown rule, and I definitely agree. But, like, bro, that 6th one was
Well,
pretty egregious. Like,
that's yeah. I mean, like, as you're describing it, and having to even say the word after the 5th knockdown, it's like
3rd
Jesus
time, it's
Christ.
like, okay, just take it easy on him. And then you knock him down a 4th time, you're like, holy shit, what has this dude been eating? 5th time, you're like, ref, I don't care what he's been eating. 6, 7, 8. After 3 knockdowns, it's egregious. Imagine 5 more of them. Like, Mm.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a spectacle. I really, for Yaya's sake, wish he had just stayed down on one of them. But yeah, after that first round, it was pretty obvious that he was having problems, but he did come out pretty fresh in that second round. And it was the
And get
hematoma that
2 more times.
and yeah, and then still ends up well, that's the thing that was crazy to me about the whole dynamic of everything was that, like, some of those knockdowns did not even look like they were coming off of crazy hard shots. So it's like, this dude must just really be, like, the toughest, weakest chin that there ever has been. I mean, like, just a guy who has the determination, like, all of the video game stats, like, it's like, chin is at a 0, but determination is at a 10,000,
Intangibles, yeah, that's the
Yeah,
99,
yeah.
yeah.
The heart gets, is like super filled up on the meter.
Chip
But
on his shoulder, 99, yeah.
yeah, so it was quite a spectacle. The hematoma, if you have not seen it, I mean, go and check out the after the fact version of it, because that was possibly the biggest hematoma I have ever seen in this sport. And I make no exaggeration when I say it started right to the side of his nose and wrapped around the entire underside of his eye to his sideburn.
The craziest part about this, and we'll talk about another fight later where I think something similar is possible of happening. Like, we will not know just how bad of a job Jason Herzog did until we find out if Muhammad Yahya can see out of that eye. Like, if he loses his vision, bingo, Jason Herzog, you're at fault. Like, you are literally the reason that you didn't stop that fight. You let
Well,
that keep going.
okay, so just again, because I'm playing devil's advocate on this thing. Had he stopped the fight for any of those five that we were talking about there, or the first round that you were mentioning, you would have had Muhammad Yahya up in his face saying, because he was, like I said, he was fresh. He was not out of it. So you would have had him up in his face saying, "What the fuck are you doing?" You would have had a whole bunch of people out there who did not have money on it. Like, on the other side being like, "How the fuck did you stop that thing? You blah, blah, blah." So it's like, again, damned if you do, damned if you don't. That's why I try to be very fair with the referees. And I don't think that he did a bad job with this.
I listen, I don't agree that we should have a knockdown rule, but if it's damned if you do, damned if you don't, okay, first 2 knockdowns, okay, double-edged sword, I get it. But if you get knocked down a third, fourth, fifth, look at how many different intervals in the fight this happened. Like,
But was he intelligently defending though? That's
after
the answer.
after
Yes, he was.
after a certain point, you have to be gauging. Okay, after 2 knockdowns, it's like, okay, hone in a little more. He's gonna have he has, in my opinion, he has less of a window now. If he doesn't get it in he has a window like this after the first knockdown, the third knockdown, it's like this. I gotta be quicker on it. Like, I don't care if he's able to get up. Steven was not, and yeah, that was definitely Steven's fault. Like, when it comes to submissions, it's like, don't stop choking until the ref taps, gets you off. Same thing with this. Don't stop until the ref tells you to stop. And like, that's probably fault on him. We talk all the time. Well, we actually don't talk about it all the time, but Ilya, he don't knock people down. No, he knocks them out. It may not necessarily be the greatest feat to get 6 knockdowns in a row. I criticize Josh Emmett all the time. It's like, dude, you have so many knockdowns, but you don't finish nobody. Like, what's the deal? Like, so you maybe just don't have the killer instinct, or you're just not able to get to those sequences enough. In this situation, I'm not putting that on Steven Wynn, but like, yo, at any point, one of those punches should have just not let him get up. And I think the 6th one actually did it. But after the first 3, it's pretty cartoony. I will agree with you. It was funny, but like, in a point where you're like, this is going to get bad if nothing happens.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so I mean, I guess you can draw your own conclusions as to how you feel about the fight, the conducting of the officiating and all of that aspect of it. But either way, a crazy record-setting performance for Stephen Wynn here, and good on him for, as you said, all of these times on the Contender Series, like really fighting his way. Obviously, you can tell that the guy wants to be there.
True.
If he made that much of an effort, and now it's paying off for him. He is now in the record books. After all of that adversity that he had to overcome to get into the organization. So shout out to him for, being in a very classic fight, if anything. And really, I mean, at the end of the day, I got to give a little bit of credit to Muhammad Yahya, for being that tough of a guy, because again, every time in the second round, when Herzog was stepping up the oversight and saying, you got to move, fighter, you got to move. He literally did it. He literally did every time. He did not give Herzog enough of a reason, which aside from the big ass fucking hematoma.
No, no way you are. Listen. I just want you to understand that this is what I read. You are telling me this dude, you are giving praise to Muhammad Yahya for being able to not let the fight get stopped, but almost be on the verge of it getting stopped at any moment in the fight.
I absolutely am, because
Okay.
I feel like he is you talk about too tough for your own good. I think that he embodies that quite literally, because I don't think I've ever seen a guy run face first into punches this way either. Like that was another thing, was that he was throwing kicks, but he was not. His hands were never in guard. Like I mean, he never had
Yeah.
a guard up, so it was like anything that he was doing was just open range for counters. So like I mean, you got to give a little bit of a credit to the misguided. You know, we talk about Bryce being misguided, you know, in his confidence. This is a misguided confidence that you don't see every day, dude. This is an impressive level of misguided confidence.
When they ended the fight, it's not like he was mad or anything, because obviously he can't see out of his eye, but they're like, we're gonna end the fight, like you can't see, and he's like, ah, yeah, that's probably right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I not like I wanted to end, but like that's probably the good call. Appreciate that, man. Like, dude, I'm pretty fucked up right now. Like I just, this fight was genuinely for the record book. Like, when that clip of what's his name, Pat Barry, and whatever the other guy's name is, where
Ted
they knock
Congo,
yeah,
yeah,
where
sure.
they knock each other down so many times. That's how I view this fight. When people would be like, yo, this dude knocked him down 6 times in a round, it's like I watched him do it 8 before they fucking stopped it. Like, dude, like, and then
At
his
least
face,
at least in that one, it was a back and forth. I mean, aside from the one time in the second round that Yaya staggered win, it was like just such a one-sided
I
beating. It's like,
it's maybe not a knockdown rule, but if it's 6-0, like if it is 6 knockdowns to 0,
nah.
okay, look, Max and Dustin traded knockdowns. Okay, well, it's 1-1. Max knocked him in the first round, and then Dustin gets it back, and then Max knocks him again. It's like, okay, it's a back and forth. But like, bro, if you knock me on my ass 6 times, I don't know if I can handle your punches. Like, I don't know if, generally speaking, I don't know if I'm able to. Like, it's
Well,
just.
this is also coming from the exact same person who said it should never be stopped on the feet. So if you're telling me that, now you maybe, you can evolve and change your opinion, but I'm saying like
This
if
wasn't
you,
on the feet, brother. They,
but
dude,
every time he got back up though, he
the
literally popped back up. He was never down on the ground for much
listen,
longer
I
than a
agree for
couple
the first
seconds.
5. I agree for the first 5. It was me wanting a finish to get a payout. But the 6th one, bro,
He
like
only stayed down because he knew that the round was ending.
it was horrible, bro. No, it was horrible at the end, bro. His leg is like all folded underneath him, and he don't know where he's at. Then he gets up, and like, at that point, when we get the angle, right? We don't always get the corners. We don't always get to see them in between rounds. But if we get the shot where he walks up and he's like,
Yeah, he collapsed into
Jason,
the stool. Yeah.
call it. Jason, call it. Like,
Yeah.
dude, don't let him go back out there.
It's
That
true. I will concede that. I do think that it would have been appropriate to be stopped between the
Listen,
first and the second.
stopping on the feet never should happen. Stopping on the stool, okay, I can see that. I can see that a little more. But my opinion is, I actually think if Jason Herzog, the way that he wanted this to play out was to go to decision, he would have done the same thing that he did with Henry Cejudo. He would have figured a way for this to go to decision if he was able, if the ref, or if the judge, if the doctor did not call this fight, he was going to make sure this goes to decision. He did. He definitely had the over 2.5. He's still pissed about it. He's going to get us back too. Crazy.
All right. I mean, I
If
fine,
if this
whatever.
fight, if this moment frustrates you, I can only tell you that this next fight is going to frustrate you even more to talk about.
Okay, well, I mean, that's all I really had to, I mean, we can go
Oh
around in
yeah, shout out
circles all day
Stevens
long.
win. Yeah, shout out
Yes,
Steven win. That was fun.
exactly. Stephen Wynn in the record books. Good job, all things considered.
If anybody ever deserved a performance of the night bonus, it's this guy right here.
Good
Like,
Lord. Yeah, give this dude all the bonuses for that one for sure. But
yeah.
yeah, two people who deserve potential fight of the night, potential fight of the year over here coming up in this next one. Of course, I'm being sarcastic there. Ibo Aslan versus Billy Elikana. This possibly was one of the worst fights of the year that we've had. if this is the new, more measured Ibo Aslan, which they were trying to like make that out to be early on in this fight, after he was, of course, choked out by Iwan Kutelaba, the old fight like an idiot Aslan needs to come back, because this version absolutely sucks.
Dude, you know what's crazy is like when I see this, right? Like when the fight came up, I'm like, man, Billy Elikana, like he did get Gushkov's back for the entirety of the first round. Like, and Ibo Aslan is a finish or be finished guy. He's 14, he has 14 wins with 14 like first round finishes or something like that. Like, it is absolutely nuts the way that he operates. And then he comes into this fight and does nothing, and does absolutely nothing. This one, dude, there's really just nothing to say, to be honest. The only thing that I take away is that both of these guys, per commentary, trained with Ankalaev recently. He's clearing out all the prospects for his belt. Like, there's no reason he made them shitty as fuck for no reason. Like, this is absolutely ridiculous.
Well, the one, I guess, element when it comes to why Elikana had that success with Gushkov is that he was able to get his back based on counter actions. You know what I mean? He was able to do all of that stuff because of the course of the fight, with Gushkov actually pushing the pace. So it was like, there was a little bit of a back and forth that led to him being able to get his back. Both dudes in this fight, looking for the other to initiate so that they could counter, basically had this stalemate between the two of them. And it was just, it was like it was like the
Oh,
idle screen in the fighting game. Both of them, like, not actually pushing any buttons, just standing in front of each other. Oh, also one thing before you go, because I do have something that made me laugh, made me think of you specifically. There was one point in this fight where Ibo Aslan was throwing thigh punches at range.
yes.
I was like, brother, the chase is gonna be all over that one.
Yeah, no, Evo. Listen, you call it a stalemate. I think we need a different term when it's fights like these, and listen. We don't see it often. We see sometimes, very rarely, we see one fighter who's apprehensive to step into the fire against the other.
Sure.
It is definitely a rare occasion. This fight right here was the epitome of two people who did not want to fight each other. And it was absolutely ridiculous. They both stood on the outside, threw one punch at a time. Like the striking totals for each round, none of them, they didn't even like land 15 strikes in any round. It was absolutely boring. The fact that we sat on the edge of our seats, like, oh, at any point Ebo can land that one if he just goes for it. And we watched 15 minutes of him do goddamn fuck all. Like, it was so irritating. And Ibo Aslan definitely has lost all his stock. If you are not able to push the pace and be a first round finisher, dude, he lost 27-30 and got mad that his hand wasn't fucking raised. Like, nobody thought you won, dude. And in no world did you do anything convincing enough to be mad that you lost. Like,
yeah, well, I mean,
crazy.
a lot of times you say, oh, these guys didn't want to fight each other. I
No,
mean,
they didn't.
yeah, so I mean, fair. Like, a lot of times I'll try to give benefit of the doubt, and like I said, maybe they're just waiting for the counters. But in this fight specifically, I will kind of concede a little bit, because both dudes are in there smiling and dapping each other up, and they're palling around, having a great time, boring the hell out of the paying audience in the crowd. And that's what really bothered me. They talked about that a little on commentary, and I completely agreed. It's like, you guys are sitting in there, just kind of having a little sparring match, smiling at each other while everyone else is booing. And I'm like, the crowd has every right to be booing this shit.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. These are two people that don't understand. And this is what Dana hates. Listen, Dana hates if you don't understand that entertainment is the business. If you come out here and you put on a shit performance, don't expect nothing in the future, Ebo. I guarantee you they will go out and find a killer for light heavyweight. And both of you will be going up against them after this performance. And you will both get finished in this next performance. That's my very high brain assessment. Ebo, your reign is over as the Turkish power. The last Ottoman, there's a reason there's no more of them. This is not the performance that you need to put on, buddy.
Yeah, true. I mean, yeah, Ebo, like, based on the fact that we've seen him be good before, this fight really stings. What?
No, don't try to play it. We've not seen Ebo be good before. We've seen
I've seen him
Ebo
knocking
throw
people.
an overhand. We've
Yeah, well, I
seen
mean,
we've seen him land
effectively.
a punch that knocks people out. We've never seen Ebo be good at mixed martial arts, and that is very key for what we see going forward. He doesn't know how to implement other things. When he's at somebody with range, oh, I'll punch him in the thigh. All right, good fucking move. You don't fucking
Fair.
know how to shoot a double leg. You don't know how to set up a combination to get you on the inside. Where's the low kicks? I mean, you threw 10 of them, fair, but you didn't do shit. That was more than 10% of the strikes you thrown and landed were the fucking leg kicks. Like, I just don't believe this dude. It's just
Yeah.
crazy to me.
Well, no, okay. So we have seen Ebo finish a fight before. How about that? Leave it that
I've
as
also seen Ebo get finished by the Pleasure Man, and they finished that fight early. It was probably Herzog too, that fucking fight, because he got these fucking bets in. But they knew that the Pleasure Man was probably going to finish Ebo if it got to the ground. That's why they took it out before it could get there. Ebo is not some killer. We just had hopes that he was maybe going to be Ilya of light heavyweight, and that's already somebody that exists, and he's got a fight that's booked here soon. So it
All
is
right.
what it is.
I'm gonna get this point out whether you like it or not
Yeah,
now.
go
Okay.
for it.
Jesus Christ. So we have seen Ebo win fights before in the UFC, point blank, period. Right. So the fact that throughout all of what we saw through the first 2 rounds, I gave Elikana those rounds just off of activity alone, even though it was not a lot. It was more than what Ebo was doing, which is saying that's saying a lot, but there was not a lot happening, right? But so by round 3, I think that both guys should have known that there was nothing done in those 2, and it really more falls on Elikana, because had Elikana actually like taken the lead, considering he was not getting anything back, this could have been a nice way, like almost it could have been similar to Dustin Jacoby in Tampa, where it was like, yeah, those first 2 rounds might have been slow and boring, whatever, but you get a nice knockout after all of that. Everybody forgets about the boring
Yeah.
parts of it. We've seen a couple of guys that have had stuff like that. I believe actually Josh Emmett might be one of those guys, even though it's rare for him to do it. I seem to remember there being one fight where like it was really, really slow, really boring, and then he got a knockout at the very end. But either way, regardless of my point is that it negates everything else leading up to it. So you could have had a highlight. You had nothing coming back at you. So the impetus for you being the dude who's ahead basically by 2 rounds, maybe a round if you want to be generous, but either way, you could have done more to make this your shining moment. And that I think is unfortunate for Elikana.
I feel bad that we talked a little bit more than I wanted to about this fight, because genuinely the discussion we have given, it's not even worth the fight that we watched. Like, this was such a bad performance, and I just genuinely can't think of a good thing to say about either one of them. Billy Elikana won the fight. That's about the only thing that you can say. He played Ebo like a fiddle, to be honest. Like, he was winning, and he kept doing we're having a good time. Like, he let Ebo think like, oh, we're just chilling. We're just having a good run. But at the end of the day, somebody's got to win. And Ebo, dumbass, loses 30-27 to somebody who's doing nothing. And he thinks it's cool. It's having a good time until he loses. And then he's like, and then he looks like a fucking idiot. So that's his own fucking fault.
Yeah, I loved the quote in hindsight here. John Gooden starting this thing off by saying, "Buckle up, folks. This one has a lot of raw power in the octagon." Yeah, lol.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, the crowd booing the hell out of this one. Very appropriate, and this is probably going to go down. We don't have a stat for that, or we're not. I haven't been keeping track of the worst fights of the year, but maybe that's something that should be kept track of in the year-end wrap-up.
Yeah, there's a reason that we didn't have the category, is because there wasn't anything that was worth noting. I mean, this is genuinely icing on the cake. What's crazy to note is actually the worst fights that I can say that have happened. 3 of them have been heavyweights. One of them was actually 2 of them. One of them was Yusuf Zalal. One of them was Khalil Roundtree. But, the other heavyweight matchups that I've seen,
Oh my god,
those have definitely been the worst matchups that I've seen of this year, for sure.
Hey, all right. Well, I'm not entertaining that line of discussion. It's going to get us down a whole fucking rabbit hole we
We're
don't
good.
need to go down. Let's move on to the next fight.
Talk
Shall
about
we?
some finishers.
Yes. So, I mean, this let's swing the momentum here a little bit, because this is Amanda Hebos versus Tabitha Ricci. First and foremost, I want to give a shout out to the homie E-Money J, who is often in our chats on the last week's fights here, and is in the watch along chat often. He is a betting man. And I thought he was an absolute madman for thinking that this fight would end inside the distance. Somehow he had the galaxy brain call on this. So again, shout out to him. This was elbow accuracy, the likes of which we have not seen since Chris Padilla versus Rongju. And Tabitha Ricci gets all the credit for that. And also her corner gets a lot of the credit for that because they called for it and she answered the call. I have a lot to say about the way that all went down. So what do you think about this fight?
This one, it felt a lot quicker. Like, obviously, it happened in the second round. It happened about damn near good amount of time in the second round. And I thought this was, it feels a lot quicker in hindsight. I thought Tabitha Ricci, from what I remember, she walked in, put her against the cage, and elbowed the fuck out of her. Like, that is literally all that I need to remember. She did exactly, whether it was a game plan or whether she just came out there and decided that I'm going to break her fucking face, I don't know. But this is two women who generally don't have finishing ability. We're already talking about women at straw weight. It's not like we're talking about these big, powerful bantamweights. So these are two women that, and with all due respect, guys, these are two very attractive women. I gotta say it on the stream. Tabitha Ricci, Amanda Ribas, you guys came in here and put a performance on before the fight even started. So the fight itself was decent in the first round. It was competitive, and I thought that I was an idiot for picking Ricci. And then the second round started. We get up against the cage, and then, like you said, we had some elbows. And we get a lot of the Hellbow talk. We get a lot of Hellbows, but Jesus Lord, if I could tell you a more accurate elbow that was going to be from hell, it would be this one. I can't tell you a more accurate one, I guess, because bro, the point of her elbow is and it was at the angle too. It's not like she came over top where she's getting forearm. She got her right, like, in the elbow part, right in the eye socket, and you could tell it immediately disrupted her. I think it actually took two. So the first one kind of grazed her in the head, and she ate it, she took it off, shrugged it, and then a second one came and hit her right in the eye socket, and you could tell it hurt. She kind of locked up and then fell over, and then Tabitha Ricci, straight killer. I mean, she obviously knew what she had in front of her, and it was a wounded target. So I really liked this performance. I will say one performance it reminded me of. There was a fight between, I can't remember which Hall of Famer woman it is, but there was a fight where she got a head kick and the toe just grazed her eye and she like fell and she was like, she kind of, it was a TKO basically, but it was also weird at the time. Like, she didn't really get hit. Like, it grazed her. And like, I probably would have thought my eye is gone too. But like this one right here, very warranted to go ahead and fall over. Like, bro, if you get elbowed directly in your eye, like, I thought her shit busted. Like, I literally thought she was going to be blind for the rest of her life. Shout out Amanda Ribas. She actually looks like she took it like a champ. She was getting surgery. Thumbs up.
Well,
Love
yeah.
it.
So, I mean, to that point,
Wait, I'm going to run to the bathroom while you make this point.
Sure. All right. Well, to that point, is basically what happened with the ending of it was that I was not aware of this, but apparently Amanda Ribas has a metal plate already in her face based on some previous damage that she had taken in fights. So the elbows actually dislocated the metal plate in her face. So that's, Chase talking about it being warranted that she went down over it. It's like, yeah, I mean, if you have a metal plate fused into your face and it gets dislodged, obviously that's going to be something that's going to be fight ending. But to the earlier points here, I'll run down some of these notes because I think that it's a good way to encapsulate why this was such an impressive performance by Ricci in the big picture. Round one was trending to decision. Like, if you go back on the watch along, you'll see me saying to E-Money J, I'm like, man, this is definitely looking like a fight that's not going to go the distance. This, the referee had to break them up off of the cage at one point, which he might have actually been the most based referee for that, because the way that they were on the cage and what they were doing, like, a lot of referees would not have broken it up. But this referee, he breaks them up off of the cage clinching. The inactivity got to the referee, so they're off of the cage. Ricci re-engages the clinch and then ends up getting tossed to the ground by Ribas. That was actually a funny moment. So Ricci's like, says, not, hey, she's all on the cage. They break off. Hey, you're not doing enough. And then she re-engages it, and Ribas is just like, fuck this, tosses her over, and she ends up going tumbling. So I was like, okay, maybe Amanda Ribas has something going here. But the difference too, I think, before all of the cage clinching, was that Ribas has a very jittery and bouncy style. And I think that Ricci's composure was an asset in this fight. It allowed her to control the center and keep herself grounded, making good on finding the moving target for early parts of this fight. Then we ended up in those clinch situations and all of that. Then you get between rounds, and actually, real quick before that, though, I do got to give a shout out to the base Gotti for catching Bisping with the Tito reaching for the grapes reference. That was a good call. I don't know if I would have caught that initially, but glad that she did because that was really funny. But then the big difference maker here, what I had said while you were gone, was that first round was trending towards decision. There was a lot of clinching. It was a lot of inactivity. The ref had to break him up off the cage. But so in between rounds, there was fantastic cornering from Ricci's camp. She gets the advice to use elbows in the clinch, and she not only did it with the accurate one that landed directly in the eye, but she did 3 or 4 of them. So my note there after the fact is that this needs to be the new meta. Can fighters please take a note out of this playbook? When you are in a clinch situation like that, throw the goddamn elbows if you have the ability to do so, because a well-placed one will knock a steel plate loose in the face of your opponent if they have it, which is what happened to Amanda Ribas.
Yeah, that's pretty nuts that she has a steel plate. When you brought it up, I actually forgot that there was a break in the action in the first round against the cage, and I was pretty upset about that. Like, they were low-key kind of active. Like, they weren't even fucking around. Like, what are you
That's
doing?
what I had said too. I was like, I think that this referee might have been a little overzealous, because there's definitely a lot of referees that would not have, thought that was not enough activity. But either way, it certainly kept the action removing. But it was funny because after they broke up, she Tabitha Ricci re-engaged and went back, and then Amanda Ribas just tossed her off. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, isn't that actually a funny thing? Like, isn't that a funny loophole to the rule? It's like, okay, if the referee breaks it up, there's no rule saying you have to just stay standing after that point. You can just go do whatever you like. But Mario Batista obviously is another good example.
That's hilarious. Yeah, exactly. That's literally what I was just going to say. I said that on the watch along. I'm like, yeah, you remember when Mario Bautista was getting the finish on Jose Aldo in this exact situation? We're trending towards a finish for sure, but then Galaxy Brain, it ends up happening. Either way, the elbows are the story of this fight, though. And, take a note out of this playbook. Take a note out of the Andreas Gustafsson playbook with the elbows in the clinch. Even fucking Taliesin Teixeira, last fight notwithstanding, of course, the fight against the Tafa brother there. The close range elbows need to be the meta. There's a fight that we'll talk about coming up where I was like, if this dude had just done close range elbows, this could have been a lot different for him. So anyway, shout out to Tabitha Ricci and shout out to her team for making this win happen. A fighter gets good advice, takes the advice, gets the win off of good advice. Love to see that.
This was definitely an interesting performance. And like I said, there was no let up on the prelim kind of wonkiness. I mean, this was a woman getting a finish. Listen, we don't see it too often, but with an elbow to the eye socket. I mean, genuinely 100% awesomeness. Like, that was great, Tabitha. And to be yourself and to come out here and get a finish like that, and she does have a cool emote. I love the little baby shark thing. So
I thought that the team pose was really cool. They all did the elbow out pose at the end. I was like, that I like that. I thought that was pretty neat. Really solid. And I had referenced it there, but really, I don't think that we have seen that exact pinpoint accuracy of the elbow nub right in the eye socket since Chris Padilla and Rongju, and you see the effectiveness of that shot when it happens.
I was actually going to say, I mean, yeah, the way she did it with the actual like 12-6 kind of, actually it wasn't even really, I don't even know what you would do, because she had really good mobility with the elbow there. But Chris Padilla, that was genuinely the money shot. That was a bullseye. Like, right. That was, you don't get better than that, especially with like an overhand elbow.
Sure.
Kind of deal.
And yeah, and I mean, and that's why I had mentioned that she threw a couple of elbows. You know what I mean? It wasn't like it was just one and it was a lucky shot. Right. Like, it was like you had to be actively trying to seek elbows landing for it to hit. But then once it does hit, that should show every fighter do that, because that can happen.
Yeah, sadly they won't. They'll just continue to stay against the cage and do nothing. So.
Well, wonderful. That's a very cheery output.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but I'm being real. I mean, nobody's going to look at Tabitha Ricci and be like, man, I need to take notes from her. That's just the sad reality.
The Galaxy Brain fighters out there will, definitely look towards that. All right. Well, moving on to the next one here, Davey Grant versus Damon Blackshear. I mean, I think that now is the next two fights really are ones where we need some respect being placed on these old man's names over here, because both Davy Grant and Muslim Salikov getting wins at their advanced ages, and people who are not, like, I feel like they're just automatically counted out often because of who they're fighting. Like their opponents get more of the praise than them, for whatever their skill set may be. But both of these guys have proven now, time over time, that they should not be counted out.
No, this was the first of many frustrations, of course. I mean, oh, sorry, not the first, but this was another frustration added into the notch of frustrations. This dude gave me a headache because Damon Blackshear, of course, you have been trying to tell me that this dude is just not him. He just doesn't perform when you need him to and doesn't give the performances that he needs to win. And the first round was definitely close. I'll say it was close. He probably won it, but the fact that he ended up getting smoked by Davy Grant for the last two rounds really hurt my fucking brain because, bro, this is not some youthful killer, bro. Like, you have so much film. You have so many people in your team that can teach you ways to effectively win fights, and you lose to Davy Grant. Like, I genuinely am just like heartbroken that I thought Damon Blackshear was gonna be, he's gonna be one of those guys that has the candy cane record because like he just don't give a shit, but he'll beat some people that he most likely should. And then when it's a time that you're like, oh, is he gonna win? Then he loses. Davy Grant should have been nothing to him. And the first round showed it. How does Damon Blackshear not have cardio? Like, genuinely, how does he get tired? And I don't understand because in the first round of fights, he looks very, very good. He looks really athletic. He looks like he's in prime shape. Like, the dude's, he is a specimen. Like, let's be honest. But how are you running out of gas at the beginning of the second round and then losing a point fight to Davy Grant? It's not like he smoked you either. I mean, he did, but he didn't. 66 strikes landed. Like, come on, dude. He doubled you, and all you had to do was actually throw back. Like, I just really, really hurtful
But this
performance.
this is where I think that you're misguided, my man. I think that you need to put more respect on Davy Grant, because I'm telling you, his boxing is good.
It's
Yes, he's
not.
older, but I mean, he's a solid boxer. He lands.
It's
His
not.
combos are great.
It's not Davy Grant. It is the age itself. It is the thing that
That's
cannot
what
be
I'm telling you.
defeated.
But
And no, that is why. Listen. I can't tell you that I'm perfect, but I can tell you that one day anybody over the age of 38, they're gonna lose. I don't know. I can't tell you why that's the case. Science, but I'm praying on all of these old heads downfall, and I'm sorry, but like, unless it's somebody who's genuinely somebody that I watched get old in the sport, like when Josh Van is 38 and he's still in the UFC, okay, maybe we'll talk. But dude, Davy Grant, no, dude, I'm done. I'm done watching him beat people that I have money on. Like, it's ridiculous.
Well, you are going to continue to lose money then,
I
my
won't.
friend, because I am telling you, man, because these are the type of fights that Davy Grant is going to continue getting. This exact type. He's going to be put up against dudes who are hot and cold. This is exactly what I had said last week. Damon Blackshear is a guy who, it's exactly what you were saying. It's like sometimes he comes in and he looks fantastic. Sometimes he comes in and makes bonehead decisions. That's what I said in round one. Yeah, he certainly took that. The grappling and wrestling that we know Damon to be able to do, he was doing. He almost had a couple of decent submission attempts in there. But then in round two, he just completely abandons the wrestling game. I was like, why did he do this? Going toe to toe with Davy Grant isn't smart. And you literally secured the takedown early as fuck in the previous round. He had Davy Grant on the ground for almost all of that round. So Grant turns up with a nice combo midway through the round. Then he was off to the races. I'm telling you, this is like, so if it was 1-1 going into the third, when Grant stuffed the takedown halfway through the round, I was like, Damon is fucking out of here. This is going to be all Davy Grant. And the cardio for old man Davy was on point. So you can go ahead and lose your money there, Chase. Old men are taking over.
It's funny because like there's people who I hate to lose money on. Like Damon Blackshear is somebody that I'm gonna hate to lose money on. I probably won't be betting on him again. But there's some people that I am just okay with losing 100 times just for that one time that they fucking lose. And Davy Grant, you are on the list, buddy. So the next fight that comes, when people tell me that you're some 41-year-old cardio machine, he's going to box the bloody head off him, he might be able to knock him out, is literally what I heard for this fight. I heard people say Davy Grant might be able to knock Damon Blackshear out. And whether that was true or not, I'm not believing this. He's losing his next fight. Davy Grant, I'm sorry you had a great career, but you need people like me to fuel you to get better, brother. So bye.
Chase Parton, confirmed hater,
I'm
plus
a
260,
hater.
plus 260 cashes. I'm all for this. I love it. I think that this is a prime example of why they always say, and it's definitely true, the power is the last thing to go. And he was landing with some decent power. Yes, he did not knock him out. That's true, but he did have him hurt at a couple of points. I mean, like, there was a time where, it was like he stumbled back, and I was like, oh, okay, that might be the start of something. Now, maybe the age might have prevented him from continuing with some heavier combos that could have actually finished the job. Definitely will give that, concede that point. But I am all aboard the train over here with being okay with some of these older fighters getting the job done. And it's not only this one, but the next fight that we're going to talk about too was even quicker. So how do you want to talk about this fight going long and it all being whatever? I mean, this next fight that we're going to talk about, one hitter quitter.
We can talk about the next one. We can get into the next one because there's not too much left to say about this one. Shout out Davy Grant. All jokes aside, it was a great performance. He looked very fast for an old man, but I hate to say it, I've seen people that were younger than you lose for their first time. Get knocked out for their first time, whatever it is. There will be a first for Davy Grant, and the downfall starts next. Anyway, going to the next fight.
Well, and just to my last point will be that keep in mind now that based on this fight, Davy Grant 17-7, Damon Blackshear 17-8. So just putting that out there, it's like, it's one of those things. Yeah, you might not have seen as much of him. And he's also a low key guy. He's one of those like Unk style family men, just I'm taking my wife and kids out to the UAE and I'm going to go have myself a little fight, like that kind of thing. So it's like, he's a nice guy that's probably like unassuming. I think a lot of people only remember Davy Grant because of the weird rib cage.
Yes.
But all of that being said, you can count these people out. You can say it's the age. You can say anything that you want. When they come through with wins like this, you should not fully count them out. So next time that Davy Grant fights, be very mindful of who he's fighting, because if it's a guy like Damon Blackshear, who's hot and cold, which Damon has definitely, that's my last note, is that Damon Blackshear, too hot and cold for me to be putting any kind of backing in anymore. And that hurts me to say, because I really did have some high hopes for him. He has a twister submission. It's like there are like elements of it that I thought were noteworthy and could have been better. He could have like grown into the sport a little bit more, and he still might. But it's at this current state too hot and cold for me to be putting any kind of significant backing behind. So that being said, next time Davy Grant goes up against a guy like that, keep this conversation in mind.
What's funny is I did take him to lose against Cody Gibson, and of course the one time he wins is not against Cody Gibson, so whatever. But I know Elite is waiting for us to get into this next fight. Let's do it.
Here we go. All right, so this next one is Muslim Salikov, or Salihov as the broadcast likes to call him, Muslim Salikov versus Carlos Leal. I mean, like I said, one hitter quitter on this one, man. Muslim Salikov doesn't even need the spinning wheel kick to get Leal, who was, we were saying, pretty beastly before, went to a close decision with Fakhretdinov, ends up getting taken out one punch.
This is another one, dude. It's like I'm watching a 40-year-old man genuinely, and people all week, they're like, I think I'm taking Muslim. He does like that spinning kick. I'm like, Jesus, here we go again. Like, no way do you guys think that another person is just going to stand at range and get kicked by this dude? And no, he didn't. And I was right about that one. But did I think he was going to get popped on the top of his head and fallen flat over? No, I didn't expect that either. That was definitely not on my bingo card. Again, there's just no way that he's going to keep it up. I don't care. Listen. I don't care how good of a tactician you think Muslim Salikov is. I don't think, if you believe he'll set up that wheel kick every fight, or if he'll set up a shot that he can counter every fight, there will be a day where he loses and I will be there to watch it. I'm just letting you know, Muslim Salikov, you are a Chad. I do respect the wheel kick, and I've seen you do it live against somebody who people told me, he's going to do the wheel kick against him. Watch out. And I've seen it. It's very cool. Very great. But like, dude, Get out. I'm ready for new prospects. I'm done Muslim Salikov. Please stop losing me money. I need other means, dude. Like, Jesus.
I want this to continue until the end of time. I want to hear Chase in this exact same situation week after week after week. This does my heart good to hear this haterism because, again, the same note that I just made about the Davy Grant fight, look at the records here. After this fight, 22-5 for Muslim Salikov, 22-7 for Carlos Leal. So you can say that he's going to lose, and he probably will. He's got those 5 on there, but this dude wins, and he has a lot of first round knockouts too. So that all being said, with this literal one shot walk off KO, Muslim Salikov giving Mark Hunt energy in the UAE. I'm loving that. Does my old head heart good on that one. But as Muslim himself would say, 41 years young, brother.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I am definitely an unk-hater. I think this could be a common thing. Like I said it earlier, over the age of 38, I think that's valid. After everything that I've seen, this week is definitely fraudulent. I can't base anything in reality after what I've seen this weekend because obviously the entire prelims was based in a simulation. Muslim Salikov and every other person at the age of 38 in their upcoming bout will be losing, and I will be betting on that. So just letting you know.
All right. Well, shout out to the Mank for chilling with us. I appreciate you, brother. On the real, when it comes to like the dynamics of this fight, I do want to say that I think that Leal started with the right idea coming into this thing. He came out very aggressively and tried to push past the kicking range because obviously Salikov with all of the spinning wheel kicks, you know that you don't want to stay at that exact range because you know if you're where his foot can land, there's a potential for a knockout there. So I thought that was the right mindset, but the problem and the fundamental flaw of all of this was not respecting the potential power in the hands from Salikov, which you know I think was a surprise to a lot of people. So fine with that, but really, I mean, Leal, hands low, wide karate stance, perfect positioning for Muslim to get that clip shot off the crown of his head. So all of the dynamics from Carlos Leal's side, like it was the right idea with the wrong execution. And so I have a little bit of sympathy for him in that regard because it was like he thought he was doing the right thing, but you got to do all of the right things, and that I think was why this ended up the way that it did. And you know, and shout out to Salikov because I don't think that'll anybody really thought that he had that kind of power in his hands.
In my opinion, I know fraud check gets thrown out a lot, and we have a lot of prospects who get fraud checked. This one right here to me is somebody that I thought was like they're coming. Like Carlos Leal came in with a vengeance. He got robbed, and now he's ready to go. This was not the case. This was not the case. Chase was definitely wrong. And if Carlos Leal goes on to have a Hall of Fame career after this moment, I will be okay saying that I'm not putting money down on any of those matchups, most likely, unless it's somebody like a real can, like I thought Salikov was. But obviously, Carlos Leal just, I, I don't know, brother. That shot that he took and obviously couldn't take was ridiculous. Muslim Salikov gets a walk off. Like it's funny because like we've seen so many clips of him getting a walk off KO. Like how are people still getting caught by this guy? I just can't believe it.
That's why it does my heart good. And you know, I like the guy. I mean, like you know, in his post fight, he's very personable. Like he's got a like nice guy kind of personality as well. So I see nothing wrong with any of this. I don't mind that these old guys can come in and still get the job done because it's weeding out some of these guys like a Leal. Exactly what you were saying. You know, potential possible hype train could have been behind him under different circumstances. You lose to Muslim Salikov, derailed immediately.
Okay, here I think I ready. Here we are. Okay,
Yes.
you have to be 38 plus, but if you're active and still winning, then we get because he's 41 or whatever. He's obviously been winning past his prime for a while. So this would be a bad, gauge if I would be like, oh, he's just old, write him off, which I did. But Carlos Leal was obviously my guy. I thought he'd get it done. But Muslim Salikov, in any other context, he's been active and he's still past the prime age and he's still getting it done. If you look at someone like Jan Blachowicz, he was injured and has some time off, but loses, draw, whatever you want to say. So not necessarily doing it the same at the same age as what Muslim is. So I don't know. It's a little different, but Davy Grant also 39, active and winning. I mean, it is what it is, man.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. I mean, David Grant coming off of a win coming into the fight that he just won
Yeah.
too. So, yeah, look, the sport is unpredictable. I think is
Mhm.
really at the end of the day, like that's why the betting on it is so difficult. You know, that's why people are when they make like a full card prediction, it's like galaxy brain. Like, you know, there are a lot of dynamics that go into why fights end the way that they do, and when you have you know, very different from team sports where you have an entire team's worth of people and like one weak link doesn't necessarily collapse the entire ship. Everything falls on a single person. So,
Mhm.
you know, there's going to be times where things that are conventional thought processes just don't happen the way that they should. I mean, there are plenty, you know, I made that point a couple months ago. I forget which card it was. I think it was one of the Australian cards where I was like, the things that you think are going to happen just don't happen sometimes. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? And like these guys, both of these older guys have proven that that is the case sometimes. So, you know, just be aware. I think that at the end of the day, you know, all jokes aside, that's really the takeaway from this whole section of conversation is be aware that as you know, you see the plus money on them, you see the underdog status, you see the age. There's more factors that go into it than what's on paper and what meets the eye.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So, but good win for Muslim Salikov, and he fights on. He said that he wants to keep going. He wants to fight Wonder Boy. I'm like,
Yeah, no, that was a good call out. I actually like that.
yeah, I do too. Yeah, I'm battle of the old guys. There you go. You know, see,
Mhm.
see who can be the old man dominance. But
And shout out Sierra West Coast for dropping by the stream. I
hey,
appreciate you.
appreciate you, Sierra, always. All right, well, moving on to the next one here: Bryce Mitchell versus Saeed Nurmagomedov. Of course, the bantamweight debut for Bryce, not half bad. Also coming walking out to Cotton Eye Joe. Brother, what the fuck is this, brother?
I think that's his normal thing he comes out to now, by the
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
Um,
I want to say he did that one time before or something.
yes, I also took note of it, but then I was like, I think he just does that.
Yeah.
This fight here, you said not half bad. Honestly, pretty bad performance from Bryce, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Um,
it was definitely not the best for sure.
well, I think it just made me realize that I've never seen Bryce Mitchell win a fight that I thought he won. You know, he beat Dan Ige, and you know, actually, another point to make: I've never seen Bryce Mitchell win a fight that he hasn't got knocked down and destroyed in the first round. Literally, Dan Ige broke his face, and then Bryce Mitchell took his back for the other 2 rounds and did nothing, and then apparently walked away with the judge's decision. Same thing that
Did he not
happened
sub
here.
him? I thought he subbed Ige.
No, it was decision.
What is it? Okay, all right.
Um, I'll double check real quick just to Danny Ige unanimous decision. Yes.
Okay, my bad.
Yeah, and this one is as well. He gets dropped in the first round, and then the next 2 rounds are mediocre grappling performances. This is a dude who doesn't even attempt fucking chokes. How did he win a round that he didn't strike in, that he almost got choked out in, and that Saeed Nurmagomedov didn't feel any pressure in? I really don't know how the judges got this one wrong because, in my opinion, Saeed won this. And yeah, I did have money on Saeed, like that was who I was going for, but I also had money going for Bryce against Dan Ige, and I thought he lost. So, you know, call it a spade. I think Bryce Mitchell is just somebody who you will never tell me he's won a round convincingly. I don't think I've seen that in a recent time. So the fact that he keeps getting edges on all of these close rounds is pretty fucking ridiculous. But shout out to
Yeah,
Bryce.
it was definitely a close fight. I will agree with that. I mean, so basically, like Saeed drops Bryce with that knee that certainly swung him that round. Tense moment. You know, Bryce didn't go out, but it was definitely, you know, it could have been worse for him. Bryce gets the takedown and attacks the arm early in the second round. I was like, okay, not really doing too much with that. There was that really high level move by Saeed with that reversal in the second, where he turned his body from the bottom and then like
Where he put his toes in the cage.
well, that was afterwards. His toes were up in the cage the entire fight, man. I mean, this was like Spider Monkey versus Spider Monkey for a lot of the remainder of the fight thereafter, like with the after that high level move that I'm talking about. But yeah, no, he was like underneath and then like sort of wall walked himself into a top position. It like flipped over that way. I thought that was pretty impressive. But yeah, I mean, it was like, you know, the cat's in the bag kind of situation with just a lot of grappling back and forth. I had it 1-1 going into the third. Saeed gets the mounted guillotine in the third, and I really don't know how the fuck Bryce got him to give that up. I really think that Saeed gave that away, and that should have been where he could have swung, or, you know, not swing it, but like where he could have finished him if he had stayed with that. But then, yeah, toes all up in the cage for the rest of the third. I just thought that Bryce put in the work in securing the round a little bit better, and Saeed was just gassed. Like, that's the one thing that I was the bigger note, is that Saeed looked gassed throughout a lot of the the later part of this fight. So that's the only real like big defining difference. I'll give you a lot of your points. I think that you're probably pretty correct about Bryce, like kind of edging a lot of these fights without them being very, very convincing, and that's going to definitely keep him from being elite. Like Bryce is proving himself now, especially in the new weight class, that, you know, he's we talk about the echelons. He's never going to be top tier. I don't think that that's going to happen. But I do think that he was going after the win a little bit harder in this fight. So if it was 1-1 going into the third, I'm okay with him getting this win. But it was certainly not a like, because like the way that he was talking about it afterwards, you know, and even I think it was Carrasco in the chat was saying, you know, the whole 2 years and it's 2-3 years in Arkansas and forget. I'm like, if this is your barometer for American wrestling now, like, I would certainly not have this be like the thing that you point to say, well, you know, you don't think American wrestling is that great. Well, look at Bryce against Saeed. It's like, that wouldn't be my argument.
Well, it's just key to know that, like, how does Bryce Mitchell, like, okay, obviously context beforehand doesn't play a part as what's going into the round, but you're watching Bryce Mitchell as somebody at home and you're like, okay, you're going against the ninja choke master. Do not get caught. Oh my God, he's in a guillotine. What is he doing? And it's like, Bryce Mitchell, how do you end up in the choke? That's literally the only thing you have to avoid in the fight, is him shooting a ghillie or a ninja choke. And you still ended up putting yourself in that position. How does he still end up winning that round? I don't fucking know. Like, I genuinely don't. I've said it before, and I've used a lot of different numbers to explain this, but just no way do you win a mixed martial arts bout by landing and throwing 39 out of 51 strikes. Like, it genuinely does not make sense to me. Striking is the first criteria. It's where the fight starts. Just because you grab his fucking nutsack for 9 minutes, like, it genuinely does not impress me, Bryce. And if this is what we're expecting out of your bantamweight run, call it now.
Well, I mean, as far as the striking goes, though, a lot of that striking, they're giving a helly bet, like inflation to the Saeed side on that with 100.
I just think I don't remember Bryce throwing a single punch in that fight. Never once was he in a grounded position and throwing a strike that could actually change the position or change the sequence of the fight. It never fucking happened.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was all about the grappling, of course. I mean, that definitely was the deciding factor here.
And that's the problem with Bryce, is like, I've seen him win fights where, oh, he took Danny Gay's back. It's like, oh, congrats. I mean, good. Oh, he took Saeed's back. Great. Thanks. I'm glad he won the fight doing nothing with the most dominant position in grappling. Genuinely doesn't even get a sub attempt off on the books. Doesn't make sense to me. And Bryce is somebody that does impress you with his grappling, because, like, he is just the farm guy. It's like, where does he, like, you don't wrestle cattle like this. Like, of course you're not doing that. But, like, he genuinely does have good sequences. If he worked towards a finish or actually mounted and got some ground and pound, if he used his grappling to get to dominant positions instead of just holding a body triangle on his back, maybe there's more to the game. But as of right now, no sub threat. There's no threat on the feet. Bryce is just what an American wrestler is. Like, you're just going to decide where the fight's going to lose you at the end of the day. Like, I don't know.
Well, I mean, still, I thought better than Saeed in this performance, though.
I genuinely don't see how you think that's possible. If you think unanimous decision for Bryce, you're a special breed. But if you don't think that Saeed or Magomedov won this one, I don't know what to tell you. Seriously.
Yeah, I mean, split probably would have been more appropriate. I would say there's probably a little bit of a case for that third round going to Saeed, maybe. But, like, overall, like, if you go back and actually just watch, like, the sequence of it, like, Bryce was in a more dominant position. And if Saeed is not getting to the submission submission either. I mean, yeah, he had that. That's what I was saying. I mean, like, had he secured that guillotine better, I mean, he had it top down. Like, it was probably like, obviously the commentary always inflates that, oh, that looks tight. But like the way that it looked, the angle that it was at, like if he had just bared down on it, like actually like locked his arms up and just like put his weight on it, it looked like it might have finished. So, Saeed letting it slip away, you looked gassed, body language, a couple other factors besides the striking.
I could have guessed, and I actually did guess that Saeed would most likely gas out in this fight. This is literally what he does. But in no way should I walk away from this matchup praising Bryce Mitchell for almost getting caught in the same-ish submission that he just got finished by in his last fight. Should I praise him for getting a dominant grappling position and doing nothing with it for 9 to 10 minutes? Or should I praise him for getting a unanimous decision win when it was not really a fucking great performance, dude? Like, I've seen you do better. Like, I genuinely could have made an argument for you beating Dan Ige, and this was a while ago now. But, like, dude, that's the last time that I could rightfully say that you won a fight and you lost, and that's exactly what I saw here. You had a fight and you lost, in my opinion.
All right, hey, fair enough. Well, I mean, can you at least praise Bryce for the 7-page biblical scripture that he recited from memory in the Octagon interview?
Yeah, that was cool.
UAE crowd, I don't know what they thought. They were certainly respectful, but noticeably quiet during that part, I would say. But anyway,
because what else are you gonna say? It's like, oh, he's talking. All right, well,
yeah, well, and just going on and
yeah,
on.
he's
and
just
on and
rambling.
on.
Like, if he is saying scripture, who would know? That sounds like normal Bryce Mitchell babble to me.
Right? Yeah, exactly. That's sort of how I looked at it. I think if you go back and watch the watch along, I think it did a pretty funny impression of what he was doing, where it's like, the holy heavenly shield and the Father and the blah blah blah. It was like kept going and going and going with that. But anyway, yeah, no, I understand your frustrations with this fight. I will certainly say that there was no form of dominance here for sure. Him winning it does not bother me. I can understand bothering you in the big picture for sure. I can get that, and especially also it's what we were talking about last week, where it's like Bryce at a new weight. This was like a need to win fight, and he did not establish himself as like a new threat. They were talking about that on commentary. Oh, Bryce says that they need to spice up the bantamweight division, blah blah blah. It's like, this is not going to inspire anybody like to say, oh, Bryce is coming in to do that.
Bryce came in at a -150 favorite. Genuinely, what did Vegas see? Like, I'm curious. I mean, I know he did win and Vegas ended up being right, but they were wrong the entire card up until this point. What made them say, yeah, Bryce Mitchell has got it in the bag? Because I literally watched him convincingly lose every single round, in my opinion.
I mean, probably the gas tank. That's what I would say. I think it was a lot of the body language. I mean, like there were times where Saeed was accepting position, man. I mean, like that, you got to at least look, if it's going to be this type of fight, you got to look at the factors that go into that. You know what I'm saying? Like the specifics of this.
I just don't think you could tell me that Saeed lost 2 rounds here. Genuinely not.
Well, go back and rewatch it and let me know what you think.
I might.
All right. Well, either way, Bryce gets the win. Let's move on to main card here.
No, I'm excited for this one. This one was expert.
I mean, there's not a whole hell of a lot to say about it as far as the fight itself goes time-wise. This is Bogdan Guskov versus Nikita Krylov. This was a more measured approach for Krylov with the same conclusion. RIP to that man.
Yeah, no, I could have told you guys, and the commentary went right away at the glaze. This guy's a fucking marauder, man. He's got 94% finish rate, and he's got how many wins? 30. He's a fucking bum. And Gushkov is not really that great, and we know that because he's lost fights. Billy Elikana took his back immediately. This is not somebody that is, Gushkov at light heavyweight is in terms a dark horse, but he's not anybody that you would ever see as like, oh, he's going to beat Alex Bejeda. Oh, he's going to beat Ankalaev. Like, that's not what's happening. But the fact that Gushkov comes out here and I can confidently tell you that he'll put on a performance that knocks out Nikita Krylov, that should just show you that Nikita Krylov doesn't inspire any hope with his performances. He walks in and throws punches with his chin straight up in the air, and Gushkov ain't no better. He don't put his hands up to save his life. He literally just does this evasion. Like, that's what he does to fucking evade punches.
Low hands.
And the fact that he was able to smoke Krylov. And what's really funny about this one too, So Bogdan gets the knockdown. Krylov goes to the ground. Then Bogdan mounts him, and Krylov starts to go for the leg. He starts to go for a little heel hook kind of deal, and then gets his head smashed against the fucking canvas. That's exactly what you deserved when you pull that fucking move. And I'm glad Gushkov followed through with it and just kept the hands moving and just kept bombing him like that. Great performance. Loved it from Bogdan. Oh my goodness.
All right, well, fair. I mean, you have seen poor Nikita Krylov performances, admittedly. I also think you're a little cranky tonight. You seem like you're on one with some of
This
these
card,
guys.
this card, no, it was just a stretch of these fights. The Bryce Mitchell one definitely had me fucking angry, but this one was a genuinely masterpiece by Bogdan Gushkov. I'm glad Nikita
Well,
Krylov got this.
all right. Well, to play the other side just a little bit, because I have seen Krylov perform much better than this. He did have some decent striking early in this fight, very early. A few good kicks I would give him. Guskov was working the body pretty well, which I thought was a good strategy there. I mean, getting him to drop the hands a little bit, was smart, even though Guskov had his own hands very low. Same plan as Carlos Leal with Guskov, hands low as fuck in close range. That's going to bite him in the ass against better competition.
It
But
will.
Krylov is definitely done at this point. I would say. I mean, washed is sad to say, and not something that I would want to apply. But we've seen recently against Reyes and now against Gushkov. This is it's pretty much a foregone conclusion with Krylov, I would say. So whatever he did right early on in the fight gets completely washed out based on what we saw thereafter, which was a straight right from Gushkov that popped like a firecracker against Krylov's skull there. And that's really the end of the story. So it's like, saying that he's a fucking bum. He
Yeah,
wasn't
that was
all,
pretty harsh. I'm sorry.
but I mean,
But he is.
he wasn't always, is what I
Okay.
what I would counter with that. But like now, based on what we are seeing currently, people go on these backslides in this sport. This is the unfortunate. We'll talk about the main event, sadly. You know what I mean? There are progressions in careers that you can see trends. This is unfortunately the trend that Krylov is on, and he's another one of those guys. I don't think that there's a recovery
I
from it.
I might have a little more sympathy for him, and I might have came in with a little more positive attitude if he was able to replicate what Billy Elicana was able to do. Like that is genuinely the bare minimum you had to do in this fight was just get Gushkov down. And it's like you don't even have to take his back. Like at least just get him down to the mat. And I'm like, okay, game plan. There you go. You know how you're trying to beat Gushkov, but you just walked in and stood with a striker. Like I genuinely don't know. And maybe in your mind, it's like, okay, I got knocked by Dom Reyes, but this is a guy and I knew the commentary would do it. It's like dude, for weeks up until Krylov and Dominic Reyes, everybody told me Dominic Reyes is washed, dude. Krylov's this fucking monster. He's a fucking marauder, dude. And then now that Dominic Reyes flatlines him in the first round, you get the commentary. Dom Reyes is on a fucking resurgence now, guys. This is a guy who arguably beat John Jones. So losing to him is not really that bad of a loss. They do that all the time. They do it all the time. They will tell you that Gushkov is not a bad loss in 3 fights. But the fact of the matter is Billy Elicana almost submitted him in 1 fucking round. So I don't know, guys. This one, it was a great performance, and I'm glad Gushkov got it done. But do I believe Gushkov is the skill that is going to be the change of light heavyweight? No. I think he can punch Krylov in the face, and that's what I bet on right there. That's all I can say. So
Yeah, I think that tracks. I mean, it really depends on the other side of the card when it comes to Gushkov. I would say, like, he's one of those guys that it's very dependent on who his opponent is. Like
mhm.
there are fighters like that, because it's like, you talk about the elites of the sport. It's like it doesn't matter who you put in front of them. I mean, if you're an elite fighter, line them up and knock them down.
Yes.
Weight wouldn't matter. It's like just whoever it is. Like there are fighters like Gushkov who it's like, what's the skill set coming in on the other side? And I do think that there are a lot of holes in his game that are easily exploitable, but he just got lucky that it was Krylov who is at a more advanced stage and not going to be able to come back from the downside that he's on. So he ends up with a nice highlight off of that. I wouldn't necessarily say that there's a lot of confidence going forward, but again, it's all dependent. So, whoever he's matched up against, that's going to be what you draw your conclusion from, as opposed to him getting a knockout.
I would be more invested with Gushkov because I genuinely believe that he could go down to 85. I think that is what the case is here. I don't believe in Gushkov's skill set at light heavyweight. I probably wouldn't believe in it more at middleweight, but I would at least be like, this dude can knock people out at middleweight. Like he was doing it at light heavyweight, and he looks like he can make the cut. Like
But it
so,
does it would it, but it's the low hands. Like you can't get to that point versus the elite at any division. You know
mhm,
what I mean? Like that's my thing. It's like, a guy like not even Drekus level, but like a guy who's awkward like Drekus, like there's going to be so many openings that he's going to be able to
yeah,
exploit out of that, like they're like, imagine Hamzat against a guy like that. I mean, like, there are plenty of dudes who will be able, like, even think about Prime Izzy versus that, or not even Prime, but right after the beginning of the downfall Izzy. Like, had they put him up against him at that point, there's a win easy for the former champ that way. Like,
mm.
you think about the styles that go against that, and there's just so many like cards stacked against him, I would say.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Yeah, Gushkov's gonna be a tough he's gonna be a tough sell to continue going forward for wins, but I don't know. I like him for some reason. He is fun. He definitely puts on a fun performance. He trains with Walter Walker. Like I don't know
Love to
what
see
that's
it.
about, like whatever.
Maybe a heel hook incoming. I'm okay with that. Bring those skills to light heavyweight. Everybody can get a heel hook.
Here's what I'm gonna get tired of really quick is if every time somebody brings up Walter Walker and him training with him is like, oh, he's learning the heel hook. Yeah, he's learning it's no, just fucking I don't want to hear that. I don't
I
want to hear
mean, you're gonna hear it when it starts to become the primary meta, infecting every division. Heel hooks are the new normal, my man.
But yeah, so either way, Gushkov, great win. I'm glad that this was the one dog performance that I put a lot of stock into. And I got it right. Obviously, I could have been right on a lot of dogs if I just would have went for a lot of picks, but this one I was very confident he was going to beat Krylov. So
Yeah, it's been
happy
a
for him.
good little stretch for dogs, just in
Yeah,
general. Really, that the last pay per view was all but one dogs on the main card, of course. So
yeah,
yeah, but again, it goes back to my point that this is an unpredictable sport, and just because there's a plus next to their name doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to go down like that. So just keep
right.
that in mind. Moving forward, though, this was another one that was I thought was called correctly based on our conversation. I was very happy about, as well here. This is a Sue Almabaya versus Jose Ochoa. I was very, what I had said last week was that the Almabayev of old was a very pressure smother machine kind of fighter. He did not do that against Manel Kopp. I said if he came back with that same style, he would have some success. I was very happy to see that he had that here, because it really was like a vintage Almabayev performance as far as his time in the UFC, of course. So yeah, this was one that I was pretty happy about. All things considered, I loved the consistent positional adjustments by Asu. That face crank, that forcing the nose up in that first round, I thought was pretty effective. Certainly didn't
hmm
look pleasant for Ochoa. So yeah, there was a lot to like in this fight as far as Asu Almabayev goes, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, this was a great performance. I'm glad that I called this one to go to Asu, and I thought this was a great performance. Looking at the stats and looking at what I'm seeing compared to what I said about the Bryce Mitchell matchup, I'll keep my thoughts to myself on that. But I do think Asu Almabayev won this fight for sure. Towards the end of the week, I was very confident to say that that Ochoa was a wild man. Like he's a little too unpredictable, and Asu will just be able. He'll throw one flying knee, and Asu's just going to take him down, and that's going to be the end of the round there. And that's relatively what kind of happened. Asu got him down, and he wasn't able to get back up. And it wasn't a dominant, ground and pound, gruesome performance, but it was textbook grappling by Asu, and he kept him in all the positions that he needed to win the fight. I would also like to note Peru and Canada have similar flags. Like, what in the world am I looking at right now? Yeah,
True. Yeah, no, I thought that yeah, I mean, I think that Almabayev, it was a nicely dominant performance,
yeah,
all things considered. This was the type of fight that you could like look away from and look back and think that it's the same thing going on, like just for an extended period of time, because it was really just a lot of him positionally adjusting, changing. He had him here, had him there, kind of thing. There were a couple of moments where Ochoa like got a few decent shots off, but yeah, this was a very strategically solid fight for Asu. Sadly, Asu is not a finisher. So, all of this sticking to Ochoa in 800 positions with no real submission threat is sort of unfortunate. And that I think is going to be a problem for him going forward. Also, this cardio machine grappler style that he has leaves a lot of positional or potential openings for his opponent to find positions if they're skilled enough on the ground as well. Because Jose almost had the armbar and the triangle in the second, and then a guillotine attempt in the third. Asu was able to work his way out of all of those, but who knows if you can replicate that time over time against a guy who's a little bit more skilled. So I do think that Asu is showing some cracks in the armor a little bit when it would come to like higher level people. Obviously, we saw that against Manel Kopp, but at this level with this type of opponent, I think that it was a well navigated fight. And then I also did love the fact that Asu points to the ground with a minute left in the fight and then immediately shoots for a takedown. I thought that was pretty funny, but I didn't dislike it, actually. I thought that as far as gamesmanship goes, I mean, you're well within your right to do that. So, okay if he did. I a little bit goofy, but somewhat effective.
It was definitely a spectacle to see somebody who's grappled for 9 minutes up until that point to point down at the ground with a whole, because the idea of it's like, okay, Asu Amabayev is telling him, let's stand and bang. There's a whole minute on the clock, brother. Like, that's 50 more seconds than they normally do it. So Asu, the idea that his nuts are that big is really funny. Like, in his mind, he's like, fuck it, let's do it. But then he obviously just didn't give a shit. Like, I don't know. Maybe he read 10 seconds. I don't know. Maybe it was whatever. But he got the performance, and I really like this one. Even though, again, it was textbook by Asu. There's nothing showing us new. It's like, oh, there's a new layer to his game. It's like, no, he's just going to take you down and hold you there. And maybe pull on your face or something. Like, I don't know. It's not really going to be end all be all. But if you can't make it, if you can't basically do what Kevin Holland did to Gunnar Nelson from the back, then you're probably not going to beat Asu Amabayev, or what Manel did to him on the feet. And that's really where it comes down to. You really have to spook Asu quick on the feet, and you got to make him hesitant to shoot just so you can keep him fainting long enough to just box the head off him, because he doesn't have the striking to keep up with you on the feet. He just has the striking to keep up enough to where he can shoot and get the distance. And he's good at that. He's very good at that. So
yeah, very accurate assessment there. I like Asu. I am a fan. Like I said, I do think that there are elements of the game that are going to potentially be problematic for him as he continues to hover around the top of the division. But for a fight like this was very solid. Going forward, this is yet another one. I keep making the same note, but it applies. This is going to be very dependent on who he's matched up against, because once you're fighting flyweight, we talk about it time over time. The top of this division is so hard to deal with. I think that depending on who he's up against, and of course he did call out Josh Van, so something like there are potential problems for him going forward. And I do not prey on his downfall, but I can potentially see it.
Well, I can definitely see it when he gets on the mic in his post-fight speech and says that he wants to fight Josh Van. Yeah. I mean, brother, you know that he's getting the title fight. And if Asu Amabayev, and we'll talk about it here in a little bit about the main event that is now for next week. If Asu Amabayev had intentions to call out Josh Van, you want to face the top of the competition. Here we are 3 days away from what you just said. You want to face the top of the division. Well, now you have a fight opening 4 days out. I've seen you take short notice fights before. You lost, but it was due to dirty cheating. Is this your opportunity where you could say, here is my second chance to get this short notice opportunity to get my name in the light? You're obviously not going to leapfrog Josh Van, but if you beat Tatsuro, brother, you're third. I mean, you are next in line, because out of Josh Van and Tatsuro comes next, in my opinion. As long as he wins this next fight, there's no other option for me. So that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I see the thought process, but it is kind of wild to think that he just went 3 hard rounds and then would just jump right back in there on that short notice. That's kind of crazy.
Listen, I'm not saying that he should go in there and be able to do it, but in his mind, here's my opportunity for the title. Like, this is going to get me to where I should have been the first time, but Manel fucking poked me in the eye 7 times. This is my opportunity. I don't care if I don't have it. taking the opportunity is, one, going to save the event for the business, so they're going to owe me one, quote, kind of, in a sense. And two, I may or may not be able to pull it off. He should have the confidence that he could pull it off. I mean, whatever. He did it one time. That's all I'm saying.
Fair. I mean, somebody go check his Twitter and see if he said anything. Maybe he did, and we don't know.
Now he's probably
Either way.
shitting bricks. I'm not gonna lie. When he was like, "Oh shit, I might have to fight Tatsuro next week."
I mean, understandable if that would be the case,
Literally, no, I agree. That's a tough. That ain't no walk in the park, man.
Yeah, well, we'll see if Park can have that walk in the park. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Anyway, yeah, no, good win for Almabayev. Jose Ochoa will come back from this. I mean, he's definitely going to be like, he was not bad on the ground, to be perfectly honest. I mean, that would be my last note about all of this, was that, like, he had a couple of decent moments there. He's not as good as Asu, but I think that there were praiseworthy moments for him in this fight.
See, here's the key thing to note, though, is you say he's not bad on the ground. And I agree with you, but the reason that he's lost his last two fights have been the groundwork. So what do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that maybe, and speculation, but maybe there's potential for him to improve those skills. He's still young in his game. I mean, he's 8-2, so it's not like he's like a road dog guy who's been out there for a million years. I think that he's definitely not an old dog that cannot learn new tricks just yet. So that would be my hope, would be if he can continue to make improvements in his ground game to get it to the point where he can actually finish some of those submissions that he initiates, then there's potential there.
No, I agree. Yeah,
I mean, but to your point, though, yes. I mean, if he is against a high-level guy who's been doing it for a million years, like an Almabayev level dude, then yeah. And will he encounter that in flyweight? Absolutely. So there is potential for it to continue to be a problem.
Yeah, but Lonnie Kavanaugh did very good in the grappling as well. And this is not somebody who's been doing it for an eternity. This is just another prospect in his division. So it is hard to say, because I agree the grappling is not horrible, but if Lonnie made it look subpar, and then your next matchup, Asu, just makes it look like you're decent, like you're good at grappling, but like you're not good enough to make it competitive in the grappling, is what I'll say. Because I think Lonnie smoked him in the grappling, and Asu didn't necessarily smoke him to a point where he's just beating the hell out of him in top positions or whatever, but he just held him down. Like in both of those scenarios, Ochoa wasn't able to offer the winning method, I think, and they were two different grappling styles.
Sure.
So,
yeah, no, I mean, he just has to prove it. I mean, that's what it is. That's all it comes down to. Just go out there and make it happen. Go out in your next fight and get an armbar finish. Then this conversation changes a whole bunch, right?
True.
So, all right. Well, let's keep the.
Lonnie did beat him on the feet too, but he was working him over in the grappling. Sorry, just wanted to make that note real quick for you.
Sure. Yeah, fair enough. All right. Well, that all being said, we can move on to the next one. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Shout out to them boys. That was a good fight.
Of course. Oh yeah. And now shout out to Didgeridoo Dave checking in as well, brother. Appreciate you, man. I know that we started late, so we're still in the middle of this thing, but always appreciate seeing you in the chat.
Hell yeah.
All right. So next one up is Shara Magomedov versus Marc-Andre Barrio, minus the mid-fight rhinoplasty. This fight went pretty much as expected, I think. This was, to me, the best Shara performance in the UFC so far, by far.
I don't know about that.
Based on what? Because I thought he looked way better than I mean, he looked like he had more grit in this fight than I've seen before, and technically, I thought he looked way better.
I will agree with you that he had more grit. Obviously, he's never been put in the point where he had to, he's bled or whatever. That's a big moment in a lot of people's mixed martial arts career. And yeah, he did fight through that. That was definitely a big point in the fight. Like, oh, fuck, is he going to fight through this? Because that was a pretty bad nose break. The fact he did fight through it lets us know that he really is into this sport for what it is. Like, he wants to be a fighter and he wants to finish fights. This was not the fight that I would say Shara looked his best in. I think Shara is at best when he is a very kick heavy person, but I would say in this fight, he let off the kicks a little bit more than he normally does. He leads a lot of the interactions with his kicks. And this one, I just didn't see as much activity as I did in the past. And it wasn't a bad performance from Shara. I thought this was great. I thought he won, but I've seen him literally knock people out with spinning back fist double time. Like these are great performances. Taking Marc-Andre to decision. I mean, I can't really say that that's the greatest performance that he's had, in my opinion.
All right,
But
fair enough. I can understand the thought process. I mean, going through the actual nuts and bolts of it,
mhm,
I thought that he was very light on his feet in the first round. A lot of movement. That's where a lot of those kicks you were talking about were. Nice knee connections as well. Also, didn't let Marc Andre advance any of the clinches because that was the thing. I thought that Marc Andre was doing a lot of things right early on in this fight. Similar note to like Leal and Bogdan, was that he's getting past kicking range by getting into those clinch situations, trying to cut off the circling. I thought that he didn't strike enough in round one. With that being said, like he was doing those things right, but he didn't pair it with the striking, so it made it kind of easy for Shara to take that first round. But he turned up in round two. Second round, Shara clips Marc Andre with an elbow that had him bleeding from the top of the head. Then Marc Andre gives Shara that nose job. And as Felder said, I thought it was pretty funny. He said that Shara's smelling behind him now,
mhm.
crying emoji on that one. But Barrio ends up going back into the clinch. He should have done some of those Tabitha Ricci up elbows in the clinch. This is where I was talking about what I was referencing earlier. Like if you're going to have that clinch heavy a game plan because you want to get past the kicking range, then you have to make those clinch situations count. So that was the big downfall for Marc Andre. And I think that also gave Shara a little bit more of an opportunity to get his second win, because at the end of that round, the end of the second round, Shara had a little bit of a resurgence, had Barrio hurt there. That's why a lot of these
Mhm.
judges, or actually all of these judges, gave it 30-27. I gave Barrio that second round because of that nose break. If you want to talk damage versus damage, come on. Like that,
Yeah.
that dude gave him the Mike Perry nose. But all of that being said, got to respect the tenacity out of Shara, because that nose was freaking cratered. And in round three, Barrio was certainly gassed. Shara was definitely not. I was very impressed with the output of him in that third round with all of the variety of attacks, quite unmatched by Barrio. Surprised that Marc Andre didn't end up going out in that third round based on what Shara was doing. So all of those things considered, like, why I would consider this his best performance. Super adversity he had to overcome, and then to still be able to not only effectively perform, but to do it with the variety and the go after it in that third round. The cardio was still there. I was like, that really spoke volumes to me as a hater.
I think it's a little incorrect to say that this is the fight that Shara had his war. Like this is the fight where we get to see him compromised and have to come back and win, kind of deal. Not really a comeback, but have to put that in. No, you're
with
not listening.
with a nose like that.
Nope, nope, you're not listening to me. The
Okay.
incorrect part is to also then say that this was his best performance today. If you think the compromised Shara was the best performance that he could put on, okay, I don't believe that. I think the fully functional dude who knocks Antonio Tricoli out in the last, seconds of the third round or whatever the case may be, or the double, the spinning back fist, whatever you want to say, those are what I would say are the prime versions of Shara. But what is key to note is that we did get what we are needing from him. We got the loss out the way with MVP. Now that's not a target on his record. Now he's actually been through adversity. So we know that he will put it on a performance that will get to, whether it's to the bell or push through to get to a different sequence in the fight. We know Shara is capable of those things. And now that the O is out the way, I mean, there's no reason for him not to continue to win. I think he's a very good fighter. And I've often said if he continues to knock people out, there's no reason that we shouldn't be able to think that he's one of the premier strikers in the league. And even after the last two performances where he didn't get a finish, I will still stand by him being one of the best strikers in the UFC. So,
All right. I mean, I would counter by saying that some of the more flashy, like, knockout things that he has done and some of the flashier striking is impressive in the instance rather than it being his best performance. But we might be getting into semantics at that point. So, agree. Whatever. We can meet in the middle on that. Either way, I thought that again, as a person who has never been very high on Shara, I've really never given him a lot of the respect that, or the adulation that other people see in him. I was pretty impressed with this performance. So that, to make a little bit more of a believer out of me, seeing that he actually has the toughness to go in a fight like this, because not only was it the clinch situations, but if you're getting touched up with the hands as well and your nose is smashed into your skull, I gotta put some respect on that.
I think what's key to note also is that when it comes down to adversity and how people respond to it, Shara didn't respond by doing the normal bullshit that Shara does to win fights. He actually buckled down and, locked into his game plan. Like, this is how I'm going to win the fight. It's not here to do spin kicks and double back fists. We got to win this fight now. My nose is fucked. So let's just go ahead and win. And I think, the variety of strikes that he puts on, obviously you can see, the leg strikes, body kicks, and the head strikes. He's not a headhunter, and he mixes it up well. That looks good for judges. That looks very good on judges when they're like, man, he's attacking all aspects of the opponent. So Charles going to continue to win in my book, and the judges are going to continue to love him, whether it's the region that he's in or whether it's because he's a very efficient point striker.
Yeah, but
I don't know.
we know it's only going to be the region that he's in because this guy is a hard sell as far as commissions go.
Yeah.
So that's yet another thing that you always kind of have to keep in mind with him, that there are very specific circumstances that come with him, with obviously the eye situation and everything else.
Mhm.
So that all being said, look, if you have to take those things into consideration, I was pretty impressed with all of that in totality. So, I'm happy with this performance out of him, and it certainly inspires me to be like, okay, maybe I'm not going to be as like skeptical every time that I see him going up against higher level competition now.
Yeah, and what's good about this one too is like I kind of liked Marc Andre coming, before this. He was kind of my dude. I don't know why I like him. He's just a big brawler, and that's just what he likes to do. And a performance like this, he literally showed why I'm a big fan of this dude. He went out there and tried to, give Shara a run for his money. And people want to talk about the Canadians. I know Mank's already going crazy in the chat about it, but like, dude, Marc Andre's pretty decent, and it was a fun performance. And I think this is why he has fans. So
Yeah, he's certainly a guy that goes out there and puts it on the line. I mean, there was no point in this fight where he was retreating in the slightest. I mean, even through all of the times where he, like even towards the end of the fight where he was, really compromised, he was at least still trying to go after it. So you
yeah.
can't really doubt the heart in Marc Andre. The skill level. I mean, we really called this one pretty correctly. We're like, look, Marc Andre is going to be tough, and Char is going to be technically better.
Mhm.
I don't think anybody could have necessarily gotten the nose break part down, but overall, I mean, this was you get what you pay for out of a fight like this on both sides, I would say.
Yeah, now that I think about it, it is something that obviously you can't call a lot of things in this sport, but a nasty nose break is one of those ones that does change the trajectory of what the fight can be. If you think about Sean Strickland and DDP is one that you could think about. It didn't end the fight, but it made you think it was gonna, that was a pretty nasty break. And then you get the Tafa brother with his nose smashed, and of course you get Shara. I'm trying to think. There was one more that was real nasty that really almost ended the fight. But either way, the nose break. Oh, fucking Randy Brown and Dalby.
Oh yeah, Randy
It's
and
just one
McDelvey.
of those things that it potentially is going to be the end all be all, depending on how the fighter understands what has happened. Shara didn't just go for broke and say, "Well, my nose is broke. I'm losing the fight. I just got to go for it." He obviously still had the idea that I can win this fight. I'm up. Let me finish the fight. It's gonna fucking hurt, but I'm gonna finish the fight, and that's what he did. So shout out Shara, man.
Yeah.
The pirate is taking over.
Yeah, and to the point of the ones that you mentioned there, those other nose breaks. Shout out to the corner people who somehow have the ability to reset a broken
Mhm.
nose mid fight, and it somehow coming out looking similar to how they entered.
Right.
He didn't look like he was super hurt after all of that, at the end of the fight, which was really crazy to be able to say. So,
Yeah.
interesting little element of it. So yeah, shout out to Shara on this one. Like I said, made a more of a believer. Am I still going to be skeptical? Probably a little bit, but I definitely saw the heart there, and I
Mhm.
respect that. So
Yeah, I definitely get that part of it.
true. Shout out to Bulldogs 1992 checking in. Appreciate you, brother. Also wanted to, before we move on to the next fight here, wanted to mention this was the point in the broadcast where we got the breaking news that Aaron Pico will be facing Lerone Murphy as the co-main of 319 next month. This is, of course, the replacement for Movsar,
Mozart.
for Movsar Evloev. So yeah, Aaron Pico, of course, coming in from outside of the organization, a premier grappler in Bellator. What do you think about Lerone Murphy as the replacement here?
I hate to break it to any of you Aaron Pico fans out there. Lerone Murphy is winning this fight. And he might as well finish him. I don't think Lerone Murphy is going to go to decision with this guy. Uh, I mean, just no way that I see it. Lerone Murphy is too good, in my opinion. He's actually an evasive fighter who will stand and bang when it comes down to it. And I've seen him do it, and I've seen him drop plenty of people. And this Aaron Pico guy, I just don't have any stock in him. He's not the heavyweight god grappler, and it's you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, and I mean to that point that we talked about it at the beginning of this stream. Will this be the one time that that now it'll happen because I have committed to it, to never going that way again?
Yes.
Yeah, of course it will be. But based on everything that we have seen, all of these people coming in from outside of the organization, all of these people coming in from outside of the organization and getting matchups of this caliber, because
Mhm.
Lerone Murphy is a surging prospect who is, very, very close to a title shot. We've now seen that several times, and every single time it has gone to shit for that person. I cannot, in good conscience, go that way again. I have tried, people. Come on, go back through the goddamn backlog of this show. I have been the one to be the advocate for these guys coming in from outside of the UFC. I have tried so hard. I wanted to believe it. I wanted to believe in the skill set and the competition outside of the UFC being of the caliber to make these guys, sharp enough to be able to do it. It has been a failure after a failure after a failure. We saw a failure of that on this very card that we are talking about tonight. I cannot do it again. Lerone
Yeah,
Murphy.
yeah, I'm definitely going with Lerone Murphy, and I'm glad you brought that up because yeah, that was a moment in the card where everybody stood still, like, oh my god, they're announcing something, and then we see it's Lerone and fucking Aaron Pico, and it's like, well, Jesus Christ, it could have been some crazier news and probably not that good of news, but this news was fine. I actually liked it, so.
I mean, you have to have a co-main event. Aaron Pico was already slotted for it. You needed it to be someone at least similar in caliber to Movsar. Obviously, the skill set is different, but the ranking and the status in the sport,
And the record.
and right, in the record, I mean, it all makes sense. So yeah, as far as on paper, does this make sense? Sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm not mad at it at all.
Does
But it,
it make sense for Aaron Pico to come in and face an undefeated prospect who's at least seventh ranked in the division? I don't know. That
but I
one's
mean,
pretty interesting to note.
But same for Movsar, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Movsar was in that same exact boat. So they were already, if they were already going to be doing it, I guess is what I'm trying to say with that. Like, they already had it in their minds that, because what the organization is doing at this point. They're
Mhm.
trying to build hype around somebody that's unknown. Like, oh, this guy is the next big hotness. You've never seen him before because you've only watched the UFC, but trust us, guys, this dude is the one, you
I
know?
think I think they're just setting it up that it just makes PFL look worse in turn. Like if they just give all of their stars people that we know are not great, but they know can beat them, and then they lose to bums, then it just makes us realize that PFL is terrible. Like that's where it comes down to. Like if they have no stars that can walk over and be good, and if they want to keep Dakota over there so she can just continue to fight cans, then we are going to have no belief that the PFL has competition worthy of what the UFC is at. So
And that's a 4D chess level of looking at it, but there's definitely something to be said for it. I think that you're onto something with that. And really, I mean, look, you're absolutely right. Not just for the PFL, but everywhere. I mean, we saw this with Ryzen as well.
mhm.
We had a dude come in straight, to a title shot off of Ryzen. So I mean, they certainly are making the outside organizations look somewhat lacking.
Inferior.
Yeah, inferior, exactly. They are looking like they are lacking in comparison with all of these, and fair enough. I don't see it as a problem because the UFC is the premier organization. This is the level. If your guys are coming in and they're supposed to be these killers, you got to kill.
See, and it's funny too because in context of PFL, the argument would be, oh well, you got to build a star, so yeah, of course, give them people that they can beat. Well, it's like, well, the UFC hopefully is doing it the opposite way, like I've been preaching the PFL needs to do. The cream will rise to the top. You give them somebody that they're not supposed to beat, and then they beat them, then you have somebody who's you can root for. But no, this is not the path that Aaron Pico is going to have. He ain't going to come in here and beat Lerone Murphy and then be on his way to a title shot. No, it ain't happening. Lerone Murphy's probably going to beat him, and we're going to realize that the PFL talent, Bellator talent, is once again just not where it is ever going to be that we believe in it. So
Yeah. Well, and now we don't have to worry about it anymore, and the PFL can continue to languish because they're not replenishing their talent pool with prospects that are worth a damn. You
Yeah.
know, aside from Dakota Ditcheva, they putting all their they hustle so backwards in PFL. It's I don't want to get into a whole long rabbit hole about it, but like, you know, thinking about like, because the conversation you and I had about it really like sparked my thought process on it. I was talking to my homie Dave. Shout out to the homie Dave. You're just saying how like they're not out there scouting the best in the world and enticing them. They're putting all of their chips on these already decent fighters that have come up through their system and letting them just be at the top so that they hope that they can become draws. And it's just
Mhm.
it's a backwards hustle.
They're wait it seems like PFL is waiting for the sport itself to become bigger, so people are like, "Okay, we gotta watch the greats of the sport," and then they're like, "Oh, Dakota Ditcheva," but it's not that. It's the UFC is building it based on the actual talent itself. They're bringing the sport to the fans instead of PFL waiting for the fans to come around to the sport.
Yeah. Hey, well said, young
Hmm.
son. Appreciate that from you, Chase. That is very, very accurate, I think. So anyway, just that was that little piece of news. We can move on to the co-main unless you have anything else you wanted to
No,
mention
this
there.
co-main will be a good one to talk about. I'm curious on
Yeah.
your opinion.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, let's get into it. Piotr Jan versus Marcus McGee. Certainly the strikers affair we were anticipating. You know, there were elements of it that made sense. I thought that there were a couple of things that didn't. I mean, do you want me to just go into it or?
I would actually just like to note
Yeah.
that my original thought process that these two names do not add up. This is Peter Yan versus Marcus McGee. When you look at these two names and you have a co-main event, you know who's going to win this. Like, you know who the better fighter is. These are two dudes that fight similarly, but you know who's been doing it longer at the higher level, who's better.
Yeah.
That is the first thing I will note.
No, yeah, no, I agree with you on that, and obviously that was what ended up happening here. But what I would say is that I do think that, like you said, they fight similarly enough that I think like if this was a hot shotting situation to try to get McGee like jumped in the rankings like really fast, like this was really kind of the only way that they could do it as effectively with a name like this. So like I understand the thought process why they continue to do these rando hot shottings. I don't understand because this one was rather random. I mean, I think that they thought that maybe there was more in McGee than what we ended up seeing in this fight.
If
But
you didn't hear during the commentary, Marcus McGee was the sparring partner for Sean O'Malley for Peter Yan. So
yeah,
he was Peter Yan against Sean O'Malley in the sparring session. So I'm sure they were like, "Oh my God, he's almost as good as Peter Yan if he's the one who trained Sean O'Malley to beat Peter Yan." Like, that's literally probably where it came from.
it very well could be. I mean, there has to be some thought process that is not immediately apparent, but I mean, it really like when you put them head to head, this was exactly as expected in that regard. It was like carbon copies with one being a slightly downgraded version. But the big note that I have about this is that I give McGee the first round, but that should have been so much more. And if you're talking about a guy who was emulating Piotr Jan against Sean O'Malley as a sparring partner, then you would think that he would have done all of the research on Piotr Jan and know all of the ins and outs of his fight style. This was the prime fight where the note that I always make about starting strong should have been the number one priority. He should have prioritized volume and power early in this fight and not made it as much of a feel out because Piotr Jan drops every single round one. We know this. This is just a common knowledge type of thing in the sport at this point. Piotr is going to drop round one. You have to capitalize on that as much as humanly possible when you are his opponent. And I don't think that McGee did that well enough. So while I do give him that first round, it was very apparent to me like, okay, we had the feel out round. Now he might have taken that, but all you're going to see now is Piotr start to turn up. I don't even necessarily think that this was the best Piotr Jan performance, to be perfectly honest. I think that this was a passable Piotr Jan performance. Do I think he won those second two rounds? Yeah, I do. I thought it was 1-1 going into that third, so you kind of have to give him that the fight based on all of that. But that third round, I mean, Jan was kind of coasting for a little while, which I thought was odd. I mean, he ended up
Mhm.
finally getting a trip, but he was holding his back a whole long time, and I was like, this is a little bit of a dangerous game here. You know, depending on what McGee is going to be able to do or not. Thankfully for him, McGee was gassed out. So like this was like kind of Jan on autopilot, and that's why that first round was so important.
I agree the first round was important with the context from what you just laid out. The second, look, the second round was almost as good of a Peter Yan performance that I think I've seen. You know, like
Yeah.
he doesn't do much different where you're like, oh, that doesn't look like him. Like he's very straight to the book. He knows how he fights and he knows what he does. It looks very similar in all his fights when he comes to it. The third round, I will agree, he was stalling for the judges after the end of it, and it was a little shitty. I didn't really enjoy it, but he was winning the fight, and I was still having a good time with the performance. There are people out there, somewhere in the chat right now, that would like you to believe that Peter Yan is not an exciting fighter. And I genuinely think that this is recency bias. He has one bad performance against somebody who, again, it's the carbon copy type of game plan. It's like, he has to do a little extra to get in on that. When you have Anderson Silva and Izzy, it's like that little chess match. They're just always one step ahead of the move where they're supposed to be. That's where Peter Young was having to be at this. And it is a fun performance, I thought. Maybe it wasn't as fun as some of the other ones, like Figgy. That was a great 5-round performance for Peter Young, but this was still a great win and a passable performance for me to say that Peter Yan is still exciting, like for sure.
I mean, Piotr Jan beats the brakes off of Figueiredo for 5 rounds, and the recency bias is based on this one round of this fight. Like, this is the type of hyperbole that bothers me about some of the fan base. Just gonna leave that point right out there in the open. Yeah, so I mean, was I less than enthused about that aspect of it? Yes, I certainly was. But overall, I mean, I think that, like you said, that second round was pretty vintage Piotr. When he locks in, his striking is so clean. I don't know how you could possibly deny that. I mean, like I think that was why this was a little bit lackluster compared to his other fights. But that him compared to other fighters is such a big divide that you're only comparing him to himself, and that's where you can get a little bit of variability. So I thought that he did great in this fight as far as like taking the lead. When he locks in, it's combination city. I mean, like, this dude is very, very sharp, and he almost got that Kimura for a second there.
Right. No, I absolutely agree.
Very, very, very brief, but still the fact that he even went for it, I thought was okay, trying to mix the martial arts with his strike heavy style. So yeah, I was perfectly happy with this. I think that McGee should just be kicking himself about that first round. Like, if you like, obviously I would not advise a fighter to lay it all on the line right out of the gate in most contexts, but in this specific instance, you have to know what you're getting out of your opponent, and you have to tailor your performance to him.
It sucks that when I look at Marcus McGee, I'm trying to think of the way, like, I don't think I take a big stock hit for him. It's like, oh, well, you lost to Peter Yan. Like, you shouldn't have even been in this predicament. Like, and I feel bad for saying it that way, because, like, maybe I should have a little confidence. Like, yeah, he should have been in the matchup, but, like, I don't think he should have. And I think that's what's unfortunate, is like, walking away from this, how should he make constructive criticism to himself? Like, I just lost to Peter Yan. Should I have been in that matchup, or should I have not? Did anybody even think that I was going to win it? Did I think I was going to win it? I don't know. There was a lot of questions that I think he should ask himself, but I don't think that this loses anything in my book for him. Like, you lost to Peter Yan. You weren't supposed to be there. Go into the next one. You could still get a decently, ranked opponent that you can go on style against. But
Yeah,
a loss against Peters, whatever.
Right. What I would say to that, at least the thought process on his side, was that I think that there is something to be said for the leap in competition and the respect level that comes from fighting a former champion with a very similar style to your own. Because one thing that I didn't see from McGee that I have seen in some of his earlier fights, and one of the things that I think might have justified him being in this fight in the first place, is that McGee locks in and gets in the flow state very in a very effective way. Like, when he locks in and is like autopilot, just like, not like, it's like the movements are happening like without him having to intentionally think about every one of them. That's when he's at his best. He did not do that in this fight. And I think that I'm only speculating to say that it might have been because he's a former champ. It's Piotr Yan. The reputation precedes him, yada yada. But if Marcus McGee comes out of this fight and goes into a fight with almost anybody else in the division, underneath Piotr Jan and can get himself back into that flow state, then there's plenty of potential for him still to get wins. But that being said, and again, we'll talk about this main event here because there's a note that's very similar that I'll be making. If you can't do it against the elite of the division, what does that make you?
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know. This one is just hard to say. What's next? Marcus McGee, what's next is probably a decently ranked opponent, of course. Peter Yan, what's next? I mean, I guess he's just waiting for the title shot. I
Oh,
don't really
absolutely.
know. I mean, he's already lost to the dude who has the belt. He's beaten the dude who's about to get the title shot. It's weird. It's a weird division.
I mean, Bryce is not wrong in the sense that the division does need some shakeups because of that. They're getting into a similar situation that flyweight was in, where you're kind of on the carousel to a minor extent now, and you do have a very, very dominant champion at the top of that. But by all means, get Piotr Jan back into that fight. I think that it's entirely warranted. I think that Piotr Jan is a dude who I very much hope can figure out the problems that had led him on a little bit of a backslide that he is now overcoming and make it so that he doesn't get back into those same quagmires. You know what I mean? Like keep yourself on an upward trajectory after this, and if he does end up getting the title shot or needs one more fight, keep the momentum all in the right direction, because I've always been a huge fan. He's my Josh Van, I say, as in comparison to you. Like, I followed him since the beginning of his career in this organization, and I've always seen champion potential in him. His story is very oddly patchy with weird stuff. Get the narrative on track for yourself, and great things can come out of Piotr Jan, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. Love a good Peter Yan.
Yeah, so we'll see if they end up giving him that shot. I don't know if this fight necessarily does that, but if it's not this one, it's got to be one more, and then come on.
Yeah.
There's no denying it after that. All right, and this brings us to our main event of the evening, which was Robert Whittaker versus Reinier de Ridder. What did you think of this fight, sir?
I don't know if there's too much to say other than obviously it was 2-2 going into the fifth. Robert Whittaker got the knockdown in the third. I thought the first and third round went to Robert Whittaker. I thought the second and fourth went to RDR. And then the fifth, I thought RDR convincingly took the round. It was there's things to know. RDR won. Massive. He's fucking ginormous. I mean, you can tell that this dude was a multiple division champion, and this might even been the smallest one that he was at, I would hope, because he made Rob Whittaker look tiny, and he was able to use the knees, of course. His little Dutch kickboxing that he calls it. The knees up close were getting real intense. I thought that was actually going to lead to a finish again. They both were really tired a lot sooner than I thought they were going to be in this fight. You would have thought these were light heavyweights, that the way that they came out of the third round, like, really fucking gassed. So having two, the championship rounds, of course, being tired, that's exactly what it's made for. So I agree that that's exactly what we got. But I don't know if there's necessarily too much to say. Reinier de Ridder, excuse me, did exactly what I figured he was going to do. I was a little worried towards the end of the week that Robert Whittaker was going to be very light on the feet and not let Reinier de Ridder close. But Reinier de Ridder is just actually as good as I'm thinking he's going to be. The actual thing I will say, though, is for the entirety of the week, I've actually been saying that Robert Whittaker, unfortunately, at this point in his career, has mid-level striking for the division now. And if Reinier de Ridder is somebody that can beat him mainly off striking, then I will double down on that sentiment that Robert Whittaker is not a high-level striker in the division anymore. Because, I mean, Reinier de Ridder's not that great of a striker. I mean, he can do what he does, and if he's able to implement that game plan, then it's fine. But his striking it's going to get exploited, I think, very, very soon. And we're at the top of the division, so it's going to happen. But that's just me.
How Reinier has such success with that bizarre striking style of his is just beyond comprehension at times. I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen anybody be successful with landing a fist like that you know, to the side of the face. It's hard to even describe what I'm doing if you're listening only, but like it's like if your fist is outward forward, it's like the like where you would be holding the microphone, the top of the microphone, the side, like yeah, where you'd be making like a little like hand puppet. Like that side like hits your face, like, and he throws that with intention, which is so strange.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, everybody talking about the awkwardness of his style, they're absolutely accurate. When it comes to Rob in this fight, the note that I had, and this, it hurts my heart to have to say, is, you know, we've got our good friend Bloomis, who was in the watch along for this one, and he was saying to me, you know, you got to give Rob some faith in this fight before the fight started. You know, you got to have some faith in Rob. He's only lost to the best in the division. And it's the same note that I just said about Piotr Jan or Marcus McGee in the Piotr Jan fight, where it's like, if you've only lost to the best in the division, what does that mean? That you are not one of them. Now, losing to RDR, that I think also changes the narrative surrounding that, because I would not class RDR as one of the best strikers in the game.
Well, and that's actually the point that I was going to make too. Is like, you know, if Robert Whittaker has only lost to the best in the division, as you're describing it right now, how many of the best of the divisions are going to keep passing him up? I
Correct.
mean, are we even going to like? We may find out that Rainier de Ritter is not the top of the division, and then what you're saying 2 fights later doesn't make any sense for Robert Whittaker. Like, yeah, he may have only lost to the top of the division, as of what we're touting them to be at the time, but we haven't seen them get to the top of the division yet, other than DDP. You know, Hamzat, of course, you know, they're there now. But Rainier de Ritter is still going to have to prove that he's a great person that beat Robert Whittaker, and not just Robert Whittaker on the downslide.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I'm really, you know, I take no joy in thinking that Rob Whittaker is on the downslide, but we are now seeing it more often than not, I would say. And you know, you got to be realistic about what you're witnessing here. I thought that Rob had that great moment in the third round. Obviously, that was the best round of the fight, period. But, you know, RDR hurts Rob with the knees. Rob responds with the crazy bomb shot that drops RDR. Sadly, he could not finish it and put too much of his cardio into it, especially after RDR had worked his way back in and got Rob to the ground. So Rob takes the round, but he's gassed out at that point. And then, you know, it's all of the dynamics going forward past that did not inspire great confidence in Rob anymore. And this is a guy that at one time I did have very high confidence in.
Mhm.
So, you know, father time comes for us all kind of thing, you know, and that's like, you know, we were just talking about old guys who have success. We're talking about the top of the division here. This is
Mhm.
a completely different conversation. And Rob is one of those dudes who has clung to a spot in the top of the division for a long time. And, you know, eventually it catches up with you, I think. And we're
Mhm.
seeing that now. I mean, Rainier de Ritter is a hard puzzle to solve. I mean, Rob himself even said that after the fight was over. He's like, you know, he's got a lot of different skill sets. He comes in with a weird style that's hard to anticipate. And that's all very true. And that might be something he can continue to use to his advantage. Maybe guys are going to continue to let him get that knee off. But I tend to agree with you, Chase. I tend to think that, you know, at some point, you know, you think about awkward versus awkward and Rainier de Ritter versus Dricus du Plessis. I mean, like, I think Dricus handles the
Yes.
weirdness. Yeah, you know what I mean? So it's like, that all being said, this was like an RIP Rob kind of moment here, like thanks for everything sort of thing to me. And like, I hate to say that, I take no joy in having that thought, but Rob just it continues the backslide now, and I kind of called it. You know what I mean? Like, I sort of saw it coming on the horizon, and Rainier de Ritter did the things I thought he was going to do. I was hoping against hope I would be wrong.
It didn't make it better that the entirety of this card they were playing almost retirement level packages for Robert Whittaker. So
True. That is a good point. Yeah, they've showed that, like, whatever that series is called that they do, like the not embedded, but it's like an embedded, and it was like all like early highlights of him and stuff. And
yeah,
he was going through saying, you know, I still want to have that run, and you're just like, oh God, this is like an old Yeller type situation here.
yeah,
You're just watching from afar, like, oh God, avert your eyes.
yep,
But yeah,
yep.
no, I feel the same way. Not all that much to say about any one thing. I did think that RDR was able to keep the cardio a little bit longer, even though he was definitely gassed by the end as well. Those fourth and fifth rounds were the tank had been depleted for both of these guys. It was a close fight. I mean, this was not like a complete mopping by any stretch. I mean, I think that the better moments were all on Rainier's side, aside from the one time that Rob knocked him down. So in totality, like, yeah, it was a close fight. I do think it was a 3-2 going to Rainier. So yeah, close in that sense. But like, if you look at the big picture of the fight, it really was watching Rob not do the things you were hoping he was going to do.
Here is the best question, because a lot of people were going on their tangents. They said, speaking of Rainier de Ritter's run in the last year, they said this is potential fighter of the year. Now, considering what we saw as the applicants for last year's fighter of the year, I would like to tell you Rainier de Ritter is not fucking getting it, because you need to be a champion who has won and defended your belt. Basically that's what they're saying at the ESPYs or whatever the fucking shit it was. Rainier de Ritter, 3 finishes and a decision win against Robert Whittaker is very impressive. But I mean, you're only going to get like the little Iron Man award from the UFC kind of deal. It's not going to be like the fighter of the year type thing, in my opinion.
Best newcomer, you know what I mean? Something like that.
Yeah.
He is the one person, aside from Kayla Harrison, who has disproved the rule of people coming in from other organizations. So
but it's different though. He's from one.
Oh.
It's a little different. It's a little Rising in one. We've seen decent. Kaya Sakura actually put up a decent performance on the feet against Pantoja until he got smoked.
Come on.
No, he was fine. He was fine.
No fucking way.
And Yuri's from Ryzen. He's only lost to Alex in the UFC.
Sure. Yuri, I'll give you. Fucking no. Kaya Sakura, definitely not. But and then also we saw Buchecha from one.
So, oh yeah, he sucks. Yeah. All right.
So, so anyway, I mean, the point is though, is that in recent memory, at least, he is bucking a trend that I have been very wrong about. So I will give him the credit where the credit is due. There's just a lot of weirdness in what he does and how he conducts himself, and I guess that is something that has he's utilized to his advantage. I think that the well runs dry at some point with that.
Yep, I kind of agree, but when will it be? I do not know. So.
Yeah. And, look, if Dricus retains and RDR fights Hamzat and beats Hamzat, then you talk to me about fighter of the
year. That's pretty crazy.
Actually, take it both ways. Either way, if he fights the loser of the upcoming title fight and can win against either of those guys, the conversation changes for me.
I hate to say it. I am a big fan of RDR, and I do like that he's winning and he's finishing people and he's having a good time doing it and he's staying active. But will I say that I'm confident that he becomes champ until I see him with the belt? No, probably not.
Yeah, no, I would still be in that same camp, even with the win that I'm talking about. You know what I mean? Like that, it wouldn't necessarily like say, oh, this guy is going to be the champ, but I would certainly be more apt to believe it. It really, I mean, like, I think that's the end point that I'll leave this conversation about Rainier on, is that like you're winning fights oddly, and that is interesting and unique in this sport because we are so used to conventional styles. You need to be able to transition that into greatness, and I think that's the disconnect for a lot of people and us in this conversation.
Yeah, 100% agree.
So, but can he do it? Time will tell.
Time will tell us that. Shout out Rainier de Ritter.
Yeah, shout out Rainier de Ritter. And, again, I'm heartbroken about Rob because I do have a lot of respect and love for the guy. I think he's one of the greatest people in this sport as on a human level. I very much I connect with the fighters that are in my opinion, good-hearted people. So it really does hurt to have to think about Rob not being in that conversation anymore. But you got to be realistic.
Right. No, 100%.
And that will do it for UFC Fight Night, Whittaker versus de Ritter. After talking it through, your final thoughts, Chase?
Final thoughts are that the prelims were hell and the main card was okay. The main card was fine. It was okay.
If you didn't have money riding on it, could you at least have been entertained by the goofiness?
No. I genuinely think Like there's a certain there's black and white and there's a little gray when it comes to entertainment. But what I saw on the prelims, I don't even think if I didn't have money riding. Like, bro, Ebo Aslan really pissed me off. Like that made me so mad. Um and Carlos Leal, like, dude, it was a hard one. It was really hard to watch. Like those would have made me mad, or I would have been in flabbergast either way. So
All
chalk it
right.
up,
Well, fair, fair. I mean, I did say that I thought your passion was certainly showing in some of those assessments. So I understand. Yeah, I thought that this was an okay fight night with some interesting elements to it. That's why I think when I came into this whole thing, I was kind of like, yeah, it wasn't really, it was sort of like whatever, but like that's, there were definitely like weird things and all that, but like overall, like what was the takeaway? Yeah,
Mhm.
it was fine. It would again hurt my feelings in the main event, and there was a couple of ones that lived up to expectations, and some that didn't.
I actually feel, you know, there are Apex cards that I would say that I'll remember. And I don't think I'm gonna be like, man, Abu Dhabi 2025, guys, that was crazy, wasn't it? Like I just don't think that I'll be
You'll
doing that,
remember Stephen Wynn and his million
True,
knockdown
true.
performance.
I genuinely will
Yeah.
remember that. That is
So,
100%.
all
Yeah.
right. Well, overall, is what it is, and we move on to this upcoming card that just within the last few days has had all kinds of weird craziness. And if I can find it, I will get to it. Give me just a second here. Where the hell did it go? Oh, there it is. Okay, sorry. Yeah, so moving on to this coming week, UFC Fight Night, Taira versus Park. Of course, this was supposed to be Taira versus Albazi. Just briefly before we get into this new main event and the new version of it, I do want to say Amir Albazi coming off of a very long layoff surgery that was pretty extensive, organ related surgery, comes back, ends up losing very, very decisively against Brandon Moreno. Now pulling out of a fight in a main event here, not signaling great confidence in Amir Albazi going forward, and that would worry me if I was, a member of his team, etc.
Yeah, I would honestly have more to say if it was somebody that I genuinely cared about. But this is somebody who, when I came into the sport, he was already on his long layoff, came back halfway through the time that I've been watching, and got completely smoked by somebody who had been retired. Like, so genuinely not too concerned that he's not in the matchup. It does obviously make me know that Tatsuro is they know he's gonna fuck Amir up. Like that's the reason he pulled out, is because Alex Perez's knee got snapped in half after Tatsuro got a hold of him. So I'm just saying Tatsuro's deadly, and I wouldn't have taken the fight, Amir, if you were gonna pull
Well,
out like this,
and then
buddy. I'm
that's the
just saying.
question too, is like what is the reason? I mean, I don't know if they've given an official reason or not, but again, either way, no matter what the reason is, it does not bode well. We saw what happened to Armin Sarkian deciding to pull out of a fight on a whim. So obviously different circumstances, that being a championship fight, but not a great outlook for Amir going forward with that as your current record. So.
Mhm.
Either way, new main event here is Tatsuro Taira versus Hyun Sung Park. Park is he is the Korean Tyson. Am I correct with that? That is this guy. This is not this guy,
No,
isn't it?
his nickname is Peace of
Oh,
Mind.
okay. I was mistaking him for that dude.
This is the dude that choked out Carlos
Aha.
Hernandez.
Okay, that is that. That is who he is. Yeah. Why? Why? Why him? Why this? Because of the short notice. Explain this to me, Chase.
Asu said no. He said yes. I don't know. That's about all I can say for it. Like I don't know why it was this guy. I mean, obviously he's 10-0 and he's a finisher. He has 10 finishes, but to throw him up against Tatsuro, who is another premier prospect, I mean, he's definitely elevated past the prospect level, but prospect in the term of that he's going to get a title shot here soon. Like I said, after Josh Van is exactly where I would say he fits in. So he gets this guy out of his way, and there's no, I mean, if this is what Tatsuro has to do, I mean, you can only fight the opponent in front of you. He obviously wanted to fight the number 2 ranked guy. He pulled out. I mean, you can't do much else but then fight the next guy in line. And then you, in my opinion, you deserve the rank after that. Like, I don't care if it's somebody that you beat and he's unranked or whatever. I mean, the number 2 guy pulled out from you, take
Uh,
his rank.
Yeah, no, I
Fuck
agree
it.
entirely. Absolutely. 10,000% on that. I mean, look, man, I don't know what's going on with Amir Albazi and the circumstances. Maybe that'll come out, but you're absolutely right. You don't show up to the fight. That's on you, brother. I don't know what to tell you at
Mhm.
that point. Tyra's in there, Tyra's game. Taira went to a fight of the year candidate last year. This guy is, he's the real deal. So yeah, I think it's somewhat of a foregone conclusion unless this, Hyun-Sung Park, like you said, 10 wins, 10 finishes. Maybe there's something more there than we're giving him credit for. We haven't seen yet. That is certainly possible. I mean, we talk about guys coming in new and then, it's sort of like an extension of the Contender Series. So him getting another win in his first outing, okay. Going up this high this early seems like a crazy leap. And you're right. I mean, obviously the circumstances are what they are with the pullout.
Yeah.
So they're scrambling. The UFC does their best to make these things as competitive as they can be, especially when it's a main event involved. So it was going to have to be a little bit sideways, no matter what. I think there really is probably not that many good options. Flyweight, also, we were just talking about with bantamweight being a little bit of a carousel right now, or them being sort of crabs in a bucket. Flyweight, certainly that same situation with the way that the top of that division is. It sort of just had to work out this way, I guess, at the end of the day. So sadly, Park ends up being a little bit of a sacrificial lamb, but Taira, he is next level shit. So, go in there and get this win, and like you said, absolutely give him the rank after this.
I genuinely do believe that Tatsuro Taira is one of the most, if not one of the most skilled, prospects in any division of the game right now. Like, he can genuinely do everything. He's so good. He's so fucking good. So I all my chips are in his
Yeah,
basket.
yeah. The only thing I can think of based on, I mean, are the majority of his finishes all submissions?
He has 9 finishes actually. The first fight he ever had was a decision. He has 4 KOs, 5 submissions for
Well,
Mr.
all right. I
Hyun-Sung
mean, then
Park. So
maybe on paper, at the very least, more well-rounded, perhaps than we're giving him initial credit for. Maybe there's something, maybe there's some surprises that are in store, perhaps.
on paper, anywhere the fight goes, he has
Right.
a chance. Is basically what it comes out to be. If this was Asu, I mean, on the feet, he gets destroyed by Tatsuro. On
Sure.
paper, of course. But like in this one, it's like he has knocked people out. He's submitted people. All right, fuck it. Let's see what he's got.
That's what I'm saying. I'll at least hedge a little bit to say that there might be some unexpected thing that happens, but against Tatsuro Taira, it just seems like a very, very far-fetched situation here. And yeah, to Mank's point, I mean, this is a 5
Yes.
round fight as the main event. You're going to have to deal with the skill set of Taira throughout all 5 of those rounds. So you better be prepared for doing all of the things that could possibly happen for 5 rounds.
I think what is key to note about Tyra, and then I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that because we
Sure.
talked about this one a little bit. Tyra has the skill set that if you give him 5 rounds and it is not you splitting them 2-2 going into the 5th, you are in hell and you are not getting out of it. Like if Tatsuro was able, like, genuinely, Brandon Royval is a dog. Like, we know this. For him to get to the 5th round and actually put on a performance to win it when it was 2-2, amazing. But if Tatsuro was up 4-0 or 3-0 or whatever, dude, Park is not, he's not getting out the fight, dude. He's going to be in miserable hell. He's going to be destroyed. Tatsuro is going to either submit him or he's going to finish him on the feet. He can do it
Yeah, and that
anyway.
was literally the
That's all I'm
point I was
saying.
going to end on myself. Is we're going to see if Hyun-Sung Park is anywhere near the caliber of Brendan Royval, the dude who's been in the sport for a million years, who has been a flyweight staple, one of the best flyweights in my opinion. Even with the current situation,
Mhm.
Brendan Royval is legitimately one of my favorite fighters, I would say. So, thinking that this dude is going to come in here and be that is a bit of a tall order. Prove everything we just said wrong, and the conversation changes instantly. But I just don't see it.
Yeah, plus 250 is pretty. That should be plus
Yeah, I was gonna say.
500.
I
I'm not
mean,
gonna
like
lie, but
the minus 320 seems like, you find one other good pick on here that's a little bit closer, and you got an instant easy hit parlay on that. I would think anyway. All right, well, let's
Yeah.
look at the rest of this thing. Mateusz Rambecki versus Chris Duncan, the Scotsman Chris Duncan. I like this fight, actually. This is a really good one.
I do like this fight. I don't know who I'm necessarily going for yet because Chris Duncan is a brawler who's not very good at brawling, in my opinion. Rebecki is a brawler who has beaten the life out of the caveman, Orabai. Um, what do I think is going to happen? I don't know because Rebecki has that build. Like when you look at him, you say, "Oh yeah, he ain't getting subbed." I mean, look at him; he's not getting no gillies getting through that neck. But will it happen? I don't know. If Chris Duncan decides to shoot another gilly, if it might be the end all be all. You're not going to continue getting it. You're going to end up on the bottom one of these days, and you're just going to get smashed. And I don't know if that's going to be this fight. Hopefully, the brawler Chris Duncan looks a lot better than he does normally because his striking defense is unfortunately not where it needs to be for somebody who likes to strike as much as he does. And Rebecki is the type of dude that is a little unassuming. I don't know, man. I know minus 210, but he's a little unassuming and I don't know. Tentatively, maybe I'll go with Chris Duncan now that I see that he's a dog.
Well, I'm
Fuck it.
going the exact opposite way. Rambecki is a dude who's I think is going to have a great amount of success. Yeah, I mean, is there always potential for some flash guillotine to change the course of things? Yeah, I mean that's a risk in any fight, but I don't see it with a guy like this. I think that he is way tougher than that exterior would lead you to believe. We saw that in the Orlabai fight. We've seen it in some of his other fights. This dude, you want to talk about a guy who will go to war. If Chris Duncan thinks that he's a striker, this is the exact time to prove it because Mateusz Rambecki is going to give you exactly what you're looking for on the feet, and I don't think he's going to be able to overcome that.
I think I just realized some information that's going to change my opinion. So just 2 fights ago, before the Orabai fight, Mateusz Rambecki got knocked out by Diego Fajeda. And that dude's going to be fighting Bobby Green here soon, and I've been fading him hella. So am I going to eat words here that getting knocked out by Diego Fajeda actually means something, or will it not? I don't know.
Well, I think what you should take away from that is that Rambecki goes out there and puts it on the line. So, I mean, does Chris Duncan have knockout power if he gets into a dogfight like that? This would be a good time to find that out. I mean, we have like I'm not. Don't get me wrong. I like Chris Duncan. I definitely do. I've been impressed by some of the stuff that he's been able to accomplish. A win over Jordan Vucenic doesn't really move the needle per se, but I do think that he has impressed in a number of ways. This will be a great barometer to see if he can hang even farther up the ladder. Like I think that, we talk about those echelons. This is a good entry point to the higher mid. And I would say that Rambecki is going to give him all that he can handle on the feet. So if he is about that striking life, then now is a put up or shut up kind of time. That being said, I have seen the wars that Rambecki can get himself into, and I think he's going to give him hell. So I'm going with the favorite on this one.
Yeah, give him hell, kid. I'll definitely be excited for this one. Fight of the night, most likely.
Potentially,
right
absolutely. And as always, everybody, just so you know, if you are watching the stream right now, we both are broadcasting to our individual channels. Like the stream that you think is the more based in their opinions, and we will come back and review next episode. Moving forward, my guy Elvis Brenner going up against Esteban Ribovics. Why do they do this to my dude Elvis, man? I like Elvis Brenner so much. I think he's such a tenacious, tough guy, but they just keep putting him up against insurmountable tasks, and Esteban Ribovics is that to a T.
I would like to agree with you that it's a tough matchup for Elvis, but Esteban Ribovics is not somebody that's just going to put your lights out. I mean, Terrence McKinney obviously got his lights put out, but I don't see Esteban Ribovics as somebody that is that putting your lights out kind of threat. He's a volume puncher at the end of the day. I mean, when you look at the numbers, I mean, he might as well be Josh Van from what I'm seeing right now. So will he come out here and finish Brenner? I don't believe so. But does he have the ability to put 3 rounds of punches on Elvis Brenner? Oh, yeah.
I think to your exact point there, I think that a repeat of the Joel Alvarez fight is very, very likely in this one, and that's why, it's very
Yeah.
sad for Brenner, because Brenner's a dude who will go out there and push forward into the strikes because he is that tough, but the strikes just don't stop coming. And that's
Mhm.
where Rebovix is really going to excel here, because again, like Joel Alvarez, it's just a tenacious striking onslaught that you're going to have to be constantly aware of. And just over time, even as tough as Brenner is, it gets to anybody. I mean, you go through
Mhm.
2 rounds of getting pummeled, having to constantly keep pushing forward through heavy attacks. What's left of you in round 3, and I see very similar potential in this fight, sadly.
Yeah, Mank's making a good point. Rebovix might drop the first round, and Elvis might be able to get some momentum to carry it through the fight. But man, this one's really tough. Brenner's lost a lot already, 5 losses. Esteban Rebovix is still kind of riding a little momentum, but you are not wrong. Going to that 3-round war, which I arguably think he lost to Daniel Zellhuber, not a great look as of what we just saw from Mr. Daniel Zellhuber. So.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, all things considered, I just think that the strike, like, this is one of those ones where it's like technique versus grit, and I think that based on the 2 individuals that bring those skills to this fight, that technique is going to win out, personally.
Yeah,
So, all right, going
yeah,
Rebovix. I
100%.
mean, excuse, yeah, going Rebovix on that. All right, moving on. All right, so this is next one is Carol Hosa versus Nora Cornell. This is one that my Galaxy Brain friend E Money J says go the dog on. He's saying that Nora Cornell is very live in this one. Carol Hosa is a very tough customer. She's been in some pretty heavy fights before, but that does seem to be in the past, and her last performance was very, very lacking.
Yeah, last performance was disappointing because you did talk up Carol Rosa as being somebody that I should not count out, and then she went out there and got counted out against by Eileen Perez.
And rightly
Uh,
so. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, and Nora Cornell is somebody who, not she was definitely a prospect that we are excited for. She got her first submission in her last fight, um, and while that is great, I have just noticed that she is 35 years old. That's a little old for
Have
9 and
you
2 in the career.
have
I'm
you
just
not
saying.
learned anything from the conversation? This is the female Davy Grant right here, brother. No, I'm kidding. I'm
No, I
kidding on
don't
that.
know. Nora Cornell is not somebody that I necessarily have a lot of stock into. Like when she got the submission, I was pissed because like you're a fucking striker, whatever. I don't know if she'll actually come out here and do something that's worth value. Carol Rosa, just when I think she's going to be shit again, she might come out here and put on the vintage performance that you were like, you'll come in here on Monday and be like, that's what I was talking about. That right there is
And
exactly what Carol
right, and
Rosa
to
is
your point, I
like.
mean, that's what I'm concerned about, because Carol Jose in her last
Yeah.
fight, she was extremely inactive. That is the big takeaway from that fight. It wasn't even that she wasn't technically proficient, any of that kind of stuff. It was that she was not throwing her hands out there, and that
Hmm.
worries me. That all of a sudden it's like, oh, she just had an off night, and now she comes back better than ever. I would be concerned about that. But Nora has been pretty consistent. Does she always get the win? No. But she definitely brings the same level of intensity to every fight. Age doesn't really bother me all that much. Talk time and time again about the women being able to do it later on. I wouldn't factor that in all that much. So
Where's this equality, bro? You want to tell me all the women they can just be immune to growing old?
it's
Like, dude, this biological clock is ticking for
it's
everybody.
physiology. It's just a little bit different in the games. Whatever. Equal right to come into the fight. I can assess it accurately. But no, yeah,
Okay.
no, I mean, look, I want to believe that Carol Hosa can get back to who she used to be, because I do think.
She's only
Well,
30, dude.
again,
Like,
age is not the issue here. I'm talking about just in ring. Who are you? Like, it's a look in the
mhm,
mirror type situation based on that last fight, because there was nothing. She was not even getting pieced up in that fight. It was just her
mhm,
not doing shit, and that's very concerning.
yeah.
So, can she overcome that and come back? There's potential for that. That's probably why she's the favorite in this fight. But Nora being a live dog, I'll take the dog on that.
Eh,
All
I'll
right.
take Carol. I know we're flip
Hey,
flopping
no,
here. I know we suck.
hey, when it's appropriate, that's fine. Yeah,
I
go for
agree.
it.
That's a listen. I always stand by. That's why I believe that we are decent at what we do is because unbiasedly we can like people all we want, But when it comes down to who's going to win, I mean, I will confidently flip sides if I think that it is for the benefit of what I'm
Absolutely,
saying.
absolutely, no, most definitely, and yeah, and all of my any kind of preconceived notions about fighters go completely out the window when it comes to their assessment in cage. That's why that's why I sided with Bryce Mitchell going into that one.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to the next one here. Neil Magny versus Eliseu Zaleski dos Santos. Magny, who's towards the tail end of his run, perhaps, but maybe still effective, versus a guy who has been way, way underwhelming.
I cannot tell you that I will put money on Neil Magny ever in my life. And Zaleski is actually somebody who I thought was a little underrated, and I actually did pick him to beat Cheaty, and then Cheaty destroyed him. And then I put money on Cheaty, and then Cheaty sucked. So what can you say? It's just how the cookie crumbles. I'm gonna go ahead and pick Zaleski dos Santos again because Neil Magny is gonna lose more in his career, and I'll be on the winning sides of it.
Okay, and we're on opposing sides yet again. This is the exact type of
Oh,
fight that Neil Magny can win. Now, keep in mind, Chase, this also goes to the recency of you coming to this sport. I remember the Neil Magny that was always counted out prior. Before he got into his like the gatekeeper status, he was still a guy that was counted out consistently. He was always a dog.
so he's never been somebody that people thought like, "Oh, this guy's hope.
100%.
Like this
Yes,
guy's good."
100%.
No.
No one has no one has ever had great confidence in Neil Magny. But that being said, did he end up getting to a point where he was going up against guys who were surging and had to be that sacrifice? Yeah, but I still remember the Neil Magny that beat Mike Malott. I still remember the Neil Magny that won some of those earlier fights that I'm talking about here. Like the old version of Neil Magny can definitely come out and be effective. And this guy, Dos Santos, is the exact type of person that he can do that against. So I think that
Mhm.
Neil Magny is not a safe choice in this one. He is the underdog. I'm
Plus
But that should
175.
tell you something. I
Oh.
mean, it's not the craziest heavy line. I mean, yeah, your favorite is a minus 220. That's certainly not a pick 'em, but at the same time, I mean, this is not a minus 500 for a reason. I think that Neil Magny still has a little bit left to offer this sport. I'm going Neil Magny.
All right. All right. I'll take
And there you go. I mean,
Zaleski.
and next week we'll come back and I'll lick my wounds if I am wrong. Uh,
Now this is
Oh,
where it's gonna
good
get
Lord.
interesting.
Danny Silva versus Kevin Vallejos. Kevin Vallejos, who is an annihilator, in my opinion, versus Danny Silva, who, also a guy who is pretty goddamn good. I love this fight. I mean, why they put these two guys, up against each other this early in both of their careers is a little crazy, but I think that we got fireworks ahead of us here.
All that I need to know about this one is Danny Silva he's a decision merchant. That's what he does. He fights all the way to the decision. He is a volume striker. I have honestly listen, I've brought up Josh Van plenty of times, but this dude really is featherweight Josh Van. Like that's literally all he does. The height, he's not undersized by any means, but when it comes to volume striking and just putting a pace and 100% guaranteed getting to the bell, like this is what this performance is going to show you. Kevin Vallejos is somebody that is just a killer, a world dominator right now. So you give him somebody that always goes to decision. Prove to me that he can stop somebody from getting their game plan off, which is point strike all the way to the bell. But I want to be different, and I want to go ahead and say Danny Silva's going to win
You're
by decision here.
mad. You're a madman.
No, no, nope,
Really?
nope,
Wow, that
nope.
one's surprising to me.
He's got a chin. He's going to eat every shot that Kevin
I
throws at
mean,
him. He actually might not even land a lot of them
but
flush, but
that
that's
being
just my
said, even if
opinion.
he eats all of those shots, I mean, do you think that just pure volume striking versus the power, even if he doesn't go out from the shots, is going to be enough to swing?
The volume against the power, it's going to be close for the round one, but then Kevin Vallejos is going to gas out. I mean, dude, he's going to throw these big old bombs in
Uh,
first round, and Danny's going to dude. I have no doubt about this. We just saw a 23-year-old last week go up against arguably the worst fighter that we've seen, and he shit the bed against him. This is a 23-year-old Kevin Vallejos who has one UFC Apex knockout. I don't know. If you guys want to put all your stock into him just now and call him Argentinian Ilya,
I mean,
I go
his
for it.
one
But
loss
Danny
is to
Silva,
Jean Silva.
yeah, Danny Silva, he's got one loss too. It might have been somebody decent. Let's find out. Probably not though, to be honest with you. It actually just happened. He just lost in
Oh,
the
did
UFC, I think, right? No, it was somebody random. Majority decision though, so he arguably could have won. Either way, um, I don't know though. Kevin Vallejos, if you want to take stock into him only losing to John Silva as like the pinnacle of his career, sure. But I mean, people lose to some people. People beat some people.
he?
MMA math doesn't always
Yeah, no,
work out. Is all
you're
that I'm
absolutely right. I
saying.
mean, I literally just on earlier in this episode was talking about how unpredictable this sport is. We often do see, I actually, a friend of mine, shout out to my buddy Kevin. He's one of those older heads I was talking about. And he was saying that he read an article at one point saying that like when the odds are like wider, when it's like a huge odds differential, that there's more potential for the upset than if like a regular, like closer dog versus, favorite type of situation. So this could be that. I mean, I'm not going to say that it's impossible that that's the case, but I mean, I just based on what I've seen out of Kevin Vallejos, man, I mean, like he does appear to be the real deal. He's so crisp with that striking. I just think that that Silva, even as decision merchant title might be applicable to him, this is the exact type of guy that becomes a later on stepping stone for Vallejos as he builds up the resume, where you can say, oh well, Silva was a decision merchant until he met Kevin Vallejos. Now, Vallejos is on the meteoric rise, and Silva is just wherever he is in the middle.
I don't know. Lucas Almeida is somebody who I think is a lot more crafty than Kevin Vallejos. I mean, Kevin is literally just a boxer. I mean, he just gets close and drops big old bombs. I mean, at a certain point, you can game plan for that. And yeah, like Ilya, you get caught by Ilya and it's over. I get it. You can't evade all the punches. Derek Lewis, I even made the argument. If you don't think he's gonna land one shot, I mean, then you're an idiot. And all he did need was the one shot. But I don't think listen, these are dime a dozen kind of guys. Kevin Vallejos may or may not be what we are thinking, but I've seen Danny Silva and I know he can take a punch and I know he can lead the charge all the way until the decision. And I think that's just what I'll go with. I don't know, guys.
Hey, trust your gut, my man. Via con Dios,
Mhm.
I mean, but yeah, no, I'm going Vallejos on this one. I mean, I'll like I said, we'll come back next week and I'll be like, damn, Chase, Galaxy Brain, but based on everything that I've seen out of both of these gentlemen so far, yeah, Vallejos is my choice in that one.
Hell yeah.
All right, moving on down the line here, Rinya Nakamura versus Nathan Fletcher. Grappling affair out of these two, perhaps.
I'm taking the big dog on Nathan Fletcher on this one. Same reason that I'm taking Danny Silva is I've seen these dudes prove to me that they will put on winning performances. And whether that means that it's their best day or their worst day. I thought Nathan Fletcher beat Kalen Lochran in this last fight, but but I'm gonna say Nathan Fletcher gets this one done convincingly.
I would agree with you on this one because Rinya Nakamura has potentially the worst striking in bantamweight. Like, I mean,
Nice.
I remember the last time that we watched him fight. Like, he had such poor striking. It was one of those ones. I mean, go back and listen to the episode on that where it's like, dude, you cannot be in this sport with striking that poor. It's
Mhm.
never going to work. That being said, Fletcher has decent enough wrestling that I think that if he can at least stuff a couple of the takedowns and then start landing some hands, it's going to be another very long fight for Nakamura. I mean, the reason that these odds are as they are have to be because they think Nakamura is going to be able to submit him,
Mhm.
based on Fletcher getting submitted before. But I don't see the like MMA skill for skill. If we're not talking, if this was a straight wrestling match, yeah, maybe that'd be a different conversation. But MMA versus MMA, I think Nathan Fletcher is way more well-rounded than Rinya Nakamura. I think, yeah, this is going to be a really nice standout performance for Fletcher if he can keep him on the feet for even a brief period of time in this fight.
Yeah, Fletcher needs a big win. I'm actually going that he's gonna finish this fight.
I like it. I don't know if I'd go that confident. Maybe he knocks him out. Maybe. But because yeah, I'm seeing that Mank saying that Nathan's training with Patty and his BJJ is elite. The wrestling is going to be something that he's going to need to negate attacks. He's going to
Mhm.
have to do defensive grappling, in my opinion. It's really going to come down to the power in his striking because Nakamura is not going to be able to hang there. that's what I'm hanging my hat on there.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, I will also go Fletcher, and as a plus 325, that parlay that if you're bold.
Hell yeah.
All right, Adolfo Vieira versus Tresean Gore. This is another one where the underdog, my Galaxy Brain friend E-Money J, is putting a lot of stock into Tresean Gore. I am not as confident in this underdog pick as he is, because Tresean Gore is not going to be able to standing guillotine Adolfo Vieira. And that's really where Tresean Gore's bread and butter is. I've seen too many Tresean Gore performances that do not go his way. The record reflects that at 6-3. Adolfo Vieira is this like prides himself on being like the MMA BJJ guy. I just don't think that the game plan of Tresean Gore, unless he is going to just go straight striking, is going to be there for him. I think he's going to have a lot more problems with Vieira than other fighters that he's faced.
This one I could care less about. I mean, honestly, Tresean Gore, the only thing that notable he's done is get butchered by Marco Tulio. So I thought that was a very fun performance from him, because he actually did show a lot of grit and a lot of heart, and he did not want to go down. Will that happen with Rodolfo? Probably not. But what will be in this fight is probably not much that I care about, to be honest with you.
I would agree with that. I'm not like super jazzed on this fight necessarily. I think that there is potential for Vieira to keep this on the ground a whole lot. Gore's wrestling is good, his grappling not as good, and I think that the grappling obviously is where Vieira excels most in his skill set.
Mhm.
So this could end up being a lot of ground game. If Tresean Gore can keep it on the feet, he might have some success. He does have decent power in his hands, not amazing power, but more than zero. So there might be some potential for him on the feet, but I think that Vieira secures takedowns, makes this a little bit of a snoozer on the ground, is what my gut is telling me.
Yeah, 100%.
That being said, though, so who are you going with?
Oh, Rodolfo.
Yeah, same. Yeah. All right, moving on. Your buddy Nick Klein versus Andre Puliev. This fight kind of sucks also.
Well, it's only because Puliev sucks, and this is the dude that fought Christian Leroy Duncan and did nothing for 3 rounds. Nick Klein is somebody that did wobble Ateba Gutierrez, which was interesting. That was his debut matchup on short notice, and he almost got the finish, if you want to call it that.
I didn't remember that. Good call on that.
So Nick Klein is somebody that is interesting enough, and at dog money, I mean, like I said, short notice, he showed up against one of the scariest dudes in the division at the time, and still. So he's got heart, and I actually think that I'll take Nick Klein as a dog on this one.
Oh gosh, I cannot believe that he's the dog on this one after that Puliev performance. I remember the conversation we had about Puliev. It was like, how is this even a thing? How is he still here based on that? So yeah, Nick Klein is a live dog. Hell yeah, dude. There's a couple of decent dogs on this one, I would say.
Yeah, for sure.
We've been saying, the current landscape, a lot of decent dog potential. So yeah, Nick Klein, I think that's a very live dog. Absolutely.
And then this next one,
Rafael Estevam versus Felipe Bunes. I know that you've been not so high on Bunes before, but he is coming off of a decent win. Estevam, somebody that I really don't have much great faith in, even though he is undefeated.
Yeah, he was notably the first undefeated fighter of the year to not lose his O, and he beat Jesus Aguilera, and it was a 3-round boring decision.
Right.
And I actually saw this one, and I thought Felipe, even though I have my gripes about him, he got finished by Josh Van. I would like to believe that this is a good dog upset from him right here. Like, Estevam is not somebody that convincingly wins, at least in the one performance I've seen from him. He doesn't necessarily finish, and he's undefeated. So he's got a ticker next to his name. That O is got to go at some point.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think that all lines up. I think Bunes is just one of those dudes that it's always going to be sort of a grab bag as to what's going to actually happen in the fight with him. He's not a super confidence inspiring fighter at all times. Can he get a win? We just saw that he can. So there's definitely potential there. I will tentatively also go that way because the O's got to go at some point, and Estevam has not done anything to make me say that's the one guy that's not going to let that happen. So, all right. Well, and rounding this whole thing out, oh gosh, Piera
Oof.
Rodriguez versus Ketlin Sosa. Wow. I do not like this fight either.
Yeah, no, this one is definitely not a fun one to start off with. Just bet that this is going to decision, guys. I don't know what else to tell you. Honestly, actually, I changed that. Scratch that. Maybe it won't go to decision. Just have fun. Bet whichever one you want to win because there's no other real reason for you to go out of your way to research who's going to win this fight. Just take a wild guess, do the dartboard. Do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I saw Piera get a win in Tampa. That's what I'm going to have as my reasoning for picking her, even though she is the absolute dumbbell who got disqualified for headbutting her opponent, I
Yeah.
believe. Am I
Yes.
correct about that? Yes, I am. So, yeah. Yeah, I counted her out in Tampa for that exact reason. I will go against that grain and pick her in this fight, even though this will be one of those ones that will slow roll into this card, I would say.
Yep. You might as well just go get some food for the first fight of this one.
I wouldn't go that far. Give some equal respect to these fine
True.
fighters over here, these ladies. Either way, but I mean, you and I will not be getting food because both of us will be here for this card this weekend on our individual watch along. So if you want to watch these fights with either Chase or myself, you can do so. You can do it with me at youtube.com/@YamaShow. And Chase, I know you can tell them where they can find you.
They will always be able to find me on youtube.com/@CP Smalls on Saturday that the UFC is going to be playing events. And then on Twitter, you can have some fun little interactions with me at x.com/@CreativePartin, PARTIN.
Follow my boy. I am at Yama Show on Twitter and Instagram as well. Twitch, Kick, and Trovo for your simulcasts. You can follow on all of those. Keep an eye on the channel. We will have the KO movie review will be up in video form probably tomorrow. And coming up going forward, Chase and I have a whole bunch of movie related stuff that we've been cooking up. I will be a lot more active on this channel coming up soon as well. So keep an eye out for new content. Make sure that you're subscribed if you're not already. Have a great rest of your night. Have a great rest of your week. And as always, everybody, fight on.
Change.